Hey, good evening, everybody. It is Monday, November 20th, and this is the Stunthangar Hangout. I'm Rusty, and for anybody that comes to watch or Monday, join me live, and 20th, we'll talk about aero modeling or any other kind of modeling besides airplanes, be it boats, cars, motorcycles, rockets. I don't care. We'll talk about anything it takes tools to work on as far as I'm concerned. So I posted a link in the chat box next to the YouTube video that will direct you to the live streaming at the bench thread. And actually, I didn't post the right, I posted the right link on Stunthangar, but I posted the wrong link in the box on YouTube. So go to live streaming and at the bench on Stunthangar, and the link to this video will be there. I'm going to try to fix that on the chat box over here, so let me remove that. Oh, I can't even remove I can't ban my own chat posts. Anyway, I'll post a new one. But the link to Stunthangar will appear shortly at the top. Boom, boom, cut. Paste. And there's the link on the YouTube chat box that you need to follow now to go to Stunthangar to get the link to come in here. I just totally botched the first post, and I can't seem to remove it, so please forgive me. Seems like I lost my only viewer anyway. All right. 2 nights in a row I've started with glitches. Hopefully we can settle down now and interest somebody into joining and staying. But in the meantime, I'm just sitting here drinking coffee. So like I said, we're here to talk about modeling. Aero modeling control line is our specialty, but we talk about any different kinds of aero modeling that you want to. And if you don't care to join us live, you can post on the chat box next to YouTube, next to the YouTube video, and we'll try to incorporate your conversation into our conversation here on the live feed. Glad somebody came in and bailed me out. Thanks, Daryl. I was just making dead air when you saved me. How are you tonight?
Oh, good, thank you. I'm doing well. My cast is off, and
oh, good. Oh, I bet that's a relief, isn't it?
Oh, sort of, because now that it's off, I've got to be even more careful because the bone hasn't knitted itself completely back together.
Yeah.
So I've got to be really careful, probably for another couple of months, and I'll X-ray it again next month and see how I'm going.
it's going to be hard not to get careful the more confident you get. But right now it's probably weaker. Or does your grip seem weaker and your hand seem weaker?
Yeah, noticeably so. Even just trimming my fingernails, you just don't have the strength in it.
Well, that'll serve as a reminder for a while, and once your strength comes back, yeah, you got to watch out for getting overconfident. But hopefully by then it's knitting up pretty tight. So good luck. I hope that works out.
Well, thank you.
Quickly for you.
Did you get your MRI scan?
I did go to the orthopedist today, and he looked at it. And I think next week they are going to put me in the hospital and fix that hip with a couple of pins and maybe a pressure plate of some sort. There's 2 fractures, and the pins will fix one. And he's debating whether to just leave the other or whether to put some kind of a clamp around it. So the second option will be a little bit more cutting, but not terribly a lot. So I think my recovery time will probably be still several weeks, but that's a hell of a lot better than never. So I can live with that. And also, I won't have to be so careful with the walker. Right now, I have to watch every single step to make sure I don't break the existing fracture. And after it's fixed, it won't be long before I only need the walker to make myself feel more stable. And if I feel like chucking it, I can go without it, I think. So that's all good.
Oh, it sounds promising.
Yeah. I don't know what those pins are made out of, whether they're titanium or stainless steel. And actually, that was his answer. I asked him, and I couldn't believe he didn't have a better answer. But he said, well, I don't know, they're titanium or stainless steel. I figured he would have known. Maybe he's got a choice when he goes in there. I don't know. But I trust the guy. You know, I've talked to him a lot. And so I feel like he's an intense thinker, and he seems to be able to process a lot of information. And so knowing as many doctors as I've known and dealt with over the years, he seems like he's got the right stuff to me. So I'm going to stick with him.
Well, sounds good. At least you've got some downtime during your fall and winter period, but hopefully come summer, spring, you'll be back out there able to get on the circle again.
Back out flying, that's right. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And hopefully I'll be able to get back out to my shop before it gets too deep into the winter and get back on the Cardinal, because I'm itching to work on this kit that I just barely started. And then I went down with the hip, and it's just sitting out there in the cold. Maybe you think it would be better to leave it in the shop? There's no environmental control. Or do you think it would be worse for it to bring it in the house and then later bring it back to the shop now that it's acclimated out there? What do you think?
It might be better to leave it in the shop. We don't get big shifts in temperature here. We're fairly stable, so other than leaving it up in the attic and cooking it, it's pretty stable. The humidity doesn't change a whole lot here in New Zealand.
Our temperature changes, you know, between the 30s and and during the time the plane's going to be out there, it'll change between the 30s and the 70s. So I'm probably okay. It might be humidity that shifts that affect it as much as temperature, but I guess it's probably smarter to just leave it out there, because it'll take a huger shift in humidity if I bring it into the house, and that's probably what warps it as much as anything, more than temperature. The only reason it warps when temperature changes is because the humidity changes. So I guess it'll stay in the shop. But
a lot of the modern designs are better designed. They don't warp as much. That's what I've heard about too. A lot of the vintage models, like the Peacemaker and probably the Flight Streak, the style of construction means that they warp a lot more. and the
Yeah.
covering, the glue, everything they used was more prone to warping. So,
And I did put that lateral carbon fiber flat bar in the entire tail end from the wing root back to the stabilizer, or actually back to the tip of the fuselage, and that should keep it from bowing in and out any. So that's probably good that I got that done. It's epoxied in place.
It's a good move for long-term durability and keep it rigid as it ages. I've just found with a lot of my very old models have got fuel soakage, and the tissue or silts continue to shrink, and they've got they're compromised by their sheer age. Because we had our control line stunt weekend on the weekend just passed, and all the models I flew were over 20 years old, up to 25 years old, and they were all showing signs of aging. And I hadn't finished my Magnum ready for the event. I thought I won't rush it at the last minute. I'll try and just trim and prepare the models I've got, but that didn't all work for me. My two-piece Messerschmitt, the two-part system started coming apart, and the wing was coming apart after the first flight in the F2B round, and so I had to sideline that model and use my profile model I had saved for sportsman stunt, or like the beginner stunt, to use an F2B, and the tank run was too short, so I could only get up to the squares, and then my fuel ran out, so I lost a lot of points on that, but I was able to still fly that in the sportsman event. And then my faithful old ringmaster that's on the floor, my super ringmaster came to the rescue, and that's over 25 years old, but it's starting to get stress cracks around the ribs and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gluing it together with balsa cement as I go, but I think it's reaching its end now, where the warps are too bad just from continual shrinkage. It won me the vintage event or classic event, so I was happy with that. At least it can go out on a good note that it won an event for me, and it's probably the right time to retire it and build the lighter model. But it was nice.
For a plane that old, it's still a good-looking old plane. I see you got the string 16s on it too.
Yeah. It's done a lot of flying. You can see the motor is. I've tried cleaning it over the years, but it's got a real baked on cast oil finish on it now after many years of flying. It's
maybe
never actually had a
retire it. You can soak that in the crock pot with some antifreeze, or clean it with some hops number 9 and get it back looking new again. The engine.
Yeah, the engine's still got a good seal. It's still a nice performing engine, but the plane's just calling out for replacement, and the undercarriage don't spring back there. The material that Sterling used was just too soft, and they bend more like a fencing, a low grade wire. They're not like a proper piano wire. So every time I was landing it, the undercarriage were partially retracting, and then you go to take off, and then you're scraping the prop on the ground. So I was losing points with that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that problem. I didn't realize it one time. I think it was last October, maybe at Huntersville, and I had a hard landing with my Cardinal, and the landing gear were splayed out, and I didn't realize it. So the next time I took off, I scrubbed the prop, and it was on an official flight. So I took off with a 12-inch prop, flew the pattern, and landed with an 11-inch prop. It went through I couldn't tell anything was wrong. It flew fine. But when I saw that prop at the end of the flight, it was a wooden prop, and I was sure as hell glad it hung together, because I could have shattered it, and that would have not been a good scene.
It all comes under extreme load when you try to take it to competition, and everything's got to work, and what's going to fail is going to fail, and that seemed to happen. I had to change 2 plugs on the day, and yet I thought I was all sorted. I've got new plugs in my motor. I'm all fine. At least I had some good plugs on hand I could swap over. But it was interesting too to see those people that were flying electric. They were flying electric in all the events apart from vintage, and they really had an advantage in the sense that they had no overruns, no underruns. They had no problems with the motor being too rich or too lean or too hot. They didn't have a whole problem of a poorly tuned engine or an old engine or just one that was misbehaving, and they only had to contend with the wind that we had there, 20 knot odd wind. It was probably gusting up to 30 knots at times, but most of the time it was about 15 knots.
Yeah.
But the electric models are so impressive now. You can't see them short for horsepower. They power around for it, and they go through there with great authority.
They do. It's dangerously
Ding-how.
Oh, hey, Terry.
Oh, hi, Terry.
I was just
Hey,
about
guys.
to say electrics are dangerously deceptive. And I think some people have been injured just by underestimating because they don't make any noise, been a little careless with their fingers and gotten some chops before they learned. Yeah, the electrics are just as much power, every bit as much power as an internal combustion engine.
Mm. Yeah, they're pretty
They do,
scary.
like you
Just the way
said.
they can.
They fly with authority, like you said.
Mm. Well, how are you, Terry?
Good. Had a little, sort of like flu-like symptoms, but just want to stay on models.
Mm.
Just
I'm glad you're
Rusty,
feeling well enough.
Yeah, I had. We were coming back from Fort Lauderdale with a bunch of guys that fly electric gliders, like your buddy, and
Yeah.
I don't know whose it was. It wasn't mine, thank God. Mine was all in a case, but there was a bunch of fuselages stacked because, of course, you leave the tails on most times. And
Hi, Jim.
I don't know what happened, but we heard one of the motors pulse like it does before it's going to start.
Oh.
And
No.
I started to turn around and the thing went on. And it tore up about 4 gliders. And I'm telling you, my friend had, we had to go to the emergency room. He had so many lacerations on his wrists trying to get a hold of this thing. And by the time he got a hold of it, it was a spinning Astroflight motor with about 8 inches of Spirit 100 glider on the end of it. And a battery.
That's like a torpedo getting loose inside the car.
Mm.
Those are super dangerous. You've got to use arming switches. And before people stick airplanes in your car, man, you better check them yourself.
Better disarm them. Yeah.
Oh,
break
man.
the connection.
First of all, the battery shouldn't have been in the plane.
Yeah.
Well, the arming plug shouldn't have been in it either.
Correct.
Well, I see we got Charles Carter and Jim Ballard joining us up now.
Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody?
Along with Terry and Gerald. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing well. Well, I
Doing
probably
good.
will be on for a little bit, then cut out, eat dinner, and then come back on.
All right. How you doing, Jim?
Doing good. How about y'all?
Pretty good
Good, thanks.
for a Monday.
Doing good. Can you guess what fuselage that is? I'll bet you Gerald knows.
Mm.
And
Was it a shoestring or something?
Okay,
no,
mini
and it
shoestring.
gets a little cheek cowl. And it gets a little cheek cowl.
Buster?
Okay. No, it's not a Buster. I've got a Buster. It's a little Tony.
All right, very cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's nice, yeah.
You're going to stick one of those. I was able to pick up, I think I told you, Charles, the few remaining of those 36 evolutions.
Evolutions, yeah, very good.
You know, I don't know why other people aren't using these things. They come with 3 different Venturis. They come with a tongue muffler. You get the Zeppelin style muffler. You got pressure fittings. You've got head shims. I mean, tools. And the thing purrs. And everybody says, oh, that new needle valve, that's crazy. I haven't touched it.
Wow.
It runs perfect. I'm at sea level, though. I haven't touched it.
Wow, it's amazing.
This is the 4th one. I
Very
ran it
good.
today.
Good for you.
So it can't be a fluke.
Now, I wish I had one. I have an Evolution
Are they from town?
1.
Yeah, here
I haven't
it
ran
is.
yet.
In fact, you can here it is here.
Oh, it looks beautiful.
I love those. That is a cool looking engine.
You're still
Under
getting them from
70
town.
bucks. Under $70.
It comes with several different Venturis in the box too, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
three. And I've got to extend the nose a little bit because I had to allow room for the tank and different things.
Right.
I've heard that
Plus,
all three of those Venturis are too big for some planes.
You know, it's got the middle one on it, and that's the only one that I've tried, and this is the fourth one I've got. And I've got one on the Ringmaster. That's the new, the one with the takeoff wing, the break apart wing. Let's see, it's on the other one, and I've got one on a Shark. Okay, the Shark. And
Shark 45 or Shark
yep.
what?
Well, the Shark 407.
Oh, Shark 407.
Yeah, the larger one. And I went ahead and didn't use that. I don't like that single knee landing gear. So I went with aluminum gear on it.
You mentioned your take apart Ringmaster the other night, but I think I was busy beating off other invaders at the time, and I didn't catch the whole thing. But did you make it a take apart, or was that one of the take aparts made by Mike Griffin?
I don't know who it came from because a friend of mine recovered it. I don't even think it was at an RC swap meet. I think it was either at a yard sale or something, but he knew I built these things, and he gave me just a box of partially built parts. And they had damaged so many of the ribs that I just, the few that were remaining, of course, I just cut a new set of ribs.
Yeah.
And I replaced the spar material. It was hard balsa, and I went with spruce. And I did replace some of the balsa areas around the wing and the fuselage where they bolt together. I faced things off with plywood and things, which the kit didn't have. But you could see what it was. But it was somebody's kit of a take apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a guy.
You know, it had a name like laser engraved on it, but the person that had it was trying to scrape that off for some reason. So, anyway.
It seems like Mike Griffin or somebody up this way was making take apart Ringmasters.
It's a nice idea. It's a great idea, and it's just, you know, I use.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you got a really small car, and you know, and you can't get your planes in it, I guess that's the best reason for a take apart plane that's that small.
Well, I can keep it hidden in my wife's car, and she doesn't know it's there. And then when we get to a place, I could just, she's, where is that yours? Where'd that come from? Oh, it was in on top of the spare tire. She drives an H2 and it has big spare tires.
No kidding.
So we have an outside carrier, so we have the inside hole is just vacant. So
somebody that watches us, but never joins, but watches every show, asked me what I thought that pile of tires behind you was from.
Oh, I can tell you. It's my son that decided to leave us it'll be 7 years in February. This is for his project car that is sitting in the warehouse under covers. It's a Fox body Coyote powered Mustang with double hit nitrous, and these are some of the tires. Yeah, we got different. These have wheels on them. So actually, Well, the thin ones are for the thin ones, of course, are for when you go
The
dragging.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the car has a tubular front end, the Fox body. And it has a very sweet, you know what I like about it? The car handles well on driving around. But when you get to the track, you can set it up to run on the track, and it doesn't take all day. You just have to twist the shocks a good bit and, you know,
Yeah.
lock things down and
You
different
want
things.
to loosen the front shocks so it lifts up.
Yeah.
And tighten the back shocks, don't you? Yeah.
Yep.
So it
Well,
puts power to the ground.
I haven't done it, but it's all there, and yeah, man, it's a runner. It is a runner.
Boy, it's been a long time. I guess it's probably been about 10 or 11 years since last time I sat at the Christmas tree and waited for the light to turn green.
Yeah, I hadn't raced in years until my younger son got back into it.
It's been a lot longer than that since I did it in my own car.
Yeah, too expensive.
That was my buddy's car. But Minnesota Mike, now he's an active drag racer. He hadn't been live with us in a while, but he comes into the YouTube and hangs out with us.
I remember his photos. He's got some sick stuff.
Oh, he does have some serious stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's into his Chryslers, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's into his Chrysler cars.
He's got a bike. He's got a bike I'd never have the nerve to pull the trigger on.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm too old for that, man.
Yeah, I saw that bike.
Too smart or something.
In Madera.
I got too much respect for the pavement and do it on two wheels.
I last went drag racing over 30 years ago now. That tells you how old I am. Yeah, over 30 years ago, sitting behind those lights.
Yeah, I got a trophy in my shop from 1980.
Wow. Yeah, well, it's
I was a little worried.
Still alive and well.
I was a little worried we weren't going to get any visitors for a while because I posted the links differently from how I usually do and didn't post the link to directly into here.
Thank you for your assistance on that link because I have that stored, so that allows me to navigate in with the iPhone.
For some reason, which one did I send you? The one at Stunthangar?
Yes.
Yeah. A lot of people seem to have trouble finding that. I'm not sure why. Now you got to be a member.
You know, the iPhone won't let me get on it. And when I try it on my laptop, it wants me to have Google to go see all this. And I have some iPhone products and they don't like Google. I don't need Google. So even my friend with the Duck channel, I couldn't get his email address for a while because he had to put it, you know, with one of those robotic questions to make sure you don't get the robots and stuff.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get to it with my iPhone.
Okay, Charles.
I know. It just...
Maybe people with iPhones can't get in here. I don't
know why I'm in. And that's all I've ever used because I'm, you know, my desktop is still boxed up.
I can't I hate doing anything on the internet with a phone. It's just like looking at the internet through a keyhole.
A little bit.
That sums it up. Yeah.
Jim, you're on a phone, aren't
you? Yes, sir. I'm on a...
You know, I can blow this up to my smart TV, but it just gets, you know...
Yeah.
Like the Android? Well, yeah. The one we won't mention works real good on my 60-inch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim, are you on an Android phone?
No, I'm on an iPhone.
Are you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I guess you got Google Hangouts installed on it.
Yes, yes, I did that last Friday, the first time I came in.
Yeah, that's what to do is get that little free app, and it works like a dream.
Yeah, good.
And you get notifications and everything else.
I'm not sure you could follow us if we went to our alternate site, though. But I posted the link in the Stunthangar message tonight in case we got kicked off. Anybody can go to that link.
You should be able to get there because that's all I use to get there. Is
oh, it is? Okay, good.
Yeah.
I know it's
6S Plus
browsers. You know, on the PCs, I know Chrome and Firefox and Opera are about the only 3 types of browsers it uses or that it can work with.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed Sparky's been moving his videos from YouTube over to one of the other video hosts, and it seems quite a good setup.
VidMe or something like that.
Yep.
I went ahead and joined up when he was campaigning for members so he could get the amount that boosted him to a higher level. And so I went ahead and signed up. He's just got placeholder videos now.
Email me the link. I'll sign up.
I'll try to remember to do that. It's on Stunthangar, but I'll do it.
Did he make the 50 subscribers he needed?
Yep.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. My brother was number 51. I got my brother to sign up as well, but he'd already made 50 before. By the time I got my brother to do it, yeah, he was on 51 the last time I looked.
Yeah, I did too.
Plenty of views. But yeah, I used the opportunity to post some videos on there as well. Mine aren't anything like Sparky's. They're terrible, but they're on there. I put some pictures of our latest event so I can email Rusty and Terry, because I know your emails. I can send you a link to my videos on there if you're interested.
I would love it. I would love it.
Well, I'll do that after, and we're off. I'll send some links through.
You watch your post, because I dropped you some of those exhaust stacks for you and the boys.
Oh, thanks, Terry. It's appreciated.
I don't know if it's going by ship or air, so all I know is you'll get it.
Yeah, it all comes by.
Yeah.
Normally it comes by air. Yeah. I don't think much comes by ship these days, other than cars.
Yeah, that's what the guy at the postal said. It's a global priority or whatever. Yeah. Nothing X-rated, all model stuff.
I'll have to get something in the mail to you before it gets too late as well. But yeah, it's all closing in now. So few days to Christmas now.
Oh, it's incredible. It's like 40 some or less than 40 days or something. I don't know. My wife has one of those little counters she puts up,
Yeah. Yeah, my youngest son reminds me every day virtually.
Yeah. God bless him.
Yeah.
I love it. So do they like to get model kits and stuff? Is that what they like?
My youngest son, Max, he's a Doctor Who fanatic. He just loves Doctor Who, the English series.
Yes.
The space traveling time lord, and my older son is Otto. He's into they both do a bit of modeling, but his passion is military stuff. He sort of looks back to both my wife's family and my own family. They've both got a rich military history, and he's into collecting military models and
very good.
all his military figures and stuff. But,
very good.
Oh, the younger one is Max, and the older one is Otto.
Yeah, Otto. Yeah.
Okay, I had it wrong the other night. I called Otto Max by accident, but I guess he probably didn't even notice.
He wouldn't notice probably, no. But
good solid names. Yeah, excellent.
Oh yeah,
easy ones to remember.
Yeah, excellent.
I like both. My nephew's name's Max. I got a nephew named Max and a nephew named Mac.
Oh yeah. And we've got a
don't have any Ottos.
Yeah, we've got a cat named Max. It was just happened that he was adopted from across the road from us, and he came over with the name Max already. So we've got
already tagged on him.
Yeah.
Already tagged to
him. Yeah, they had a hard day on Saturday when we had our contest trying to keep them entertained, got them shooting videos. So those videos on VidMe have largely been shot by Otto and Max, which you'll probably pick up if you're watching. You'll see that they've got their commentary, a few words in there, and they're a bit juddery in places, but it kept them entertained because they weren't flying. I just thought there's no point putting them in a sportsman event, giving them the stress until they could do at least half the schedule. Those kids that were flying were giving it a good shot, but yeah, I suppose next time round I'll have to push them in and say you've got to go in there and you've just got to
get
fly.
your feet wet. Yeah, get your feet wet.
You know what we do up here? is it's an unofficial event as far as Pampa and AMA are concerned, but we've got a basic flight contest that the youngest kids can fly, or anybody can fly for that matter. And it's a series of climbs and dives to 45 and down to 5, and then they have to do some laps at a real high height. And if they want to get extra points, they can do anything else they're able to, if it's a loop or whatever. And then, you know, there's, I don't know all the little details of the rules, but we've printed it up and give it to all the young ones in the group so they can study up on it and learn to fly it. And we do that on Saturday when we're flying things like Profile and Nostalgia. And the kids at noon is usually when the basic flight goes off. And, you know, even somebody with the little kids, they'll go out and with even a toddler and hold him and let the toddler help hold the handle and fly. And actually, you know, there are only 2 or 3 of them join anyway to compete. So sometimes even the littlest one will get a trophy, and it's just fun. But it gives them something.
That's good.
That is good.
Yeah, it's not too hard. You're not asking them to do overhead 8s, and you're not asking them to do vertical 8s and things. You know, it's an easy doable list.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get a copy of that and post it somewhere where y'all can get it if you want to integrate that into your local contests. And you know, maybe if your club president or whoever the contest director thinks it's a good idea, maybe they'll implement that into the contest.
Yeah, it sounds like a good filler to put in there when other events are between events, something like that, just to get kids involved, so they're not just sitting around playing with their LC cars or whatever.
And the ones that are almost up there, you know, and they get a first place trophy, and the ones that aren't quite behind them, it inspires those guys to practice and do more and maybe get out and fly when they would otherwise be playing with video games or something like that. So you can always hope.
Yeah, well, you've got to put it in there somewhere. So I often think it's harder in some ways for the sons and daughters of aero modelers because we expect too much of them. Whereas I approached from square one. I didn't really have parents that were into it, so it was my own enthusiasm. I didn't have it rammed down my throat. And I'm probably guilty of that with my own kids.
Once in a while, a kid will crop up that's just a natural. And, well, like Samantha Hines, she picked it up and ran with it by herself. Her dad didn't even fly control line. She just saw a video of somebody doing it one day and decided she wanted to do it. But we've got a guy in our club from Nashville, Tennessee. Mike Lundke has actually been in here and talked about his son Sam is learning and is going to believe Sam flew beginner this past contest and did pretty well against adults. He came in 4th place, maybe, I'm not sure, but they had more than usual joining beginner too. Usually it's only 3, sometimes 4, rarely 5.
Sam's pretty good at it. Yeah, I've seen Mike's videos and he does a good job. Sam's pretty proficient for his age.
Yeah. Now Sam can take a speed limit combat plane and really ring it out, and he flew combat this year. Now he's 8 years old, I think, and he flew against an adult, an honest match, and got some cuts and won one of the matches. He didn't win a trophy, but he did win one of the matches against an adult. And I don't think the guy was sandbagging on him either.
Oh, no.
I think Sam's that good. After watching him sling one around in one of Mike's videos, he could fly. He flies it. I couldn't do it much better than him or any. I don't believe. So, you know, that's the kind of kid that comes along rarely, but once in a while.
I've flown those planes for years. You've seen them all. I've watched the videos. The kid has just got natural talent. And eye-hand coordination. And when you get the hookup, you've got it, you know? It's like when people are learning to fly, there's something called the touch. And a flight instructor can tell in about 2.5 minutes when a new student puts their feet on the pedals and their hand on the stick or on the wheel.
Coordinate.
You can tell within just a few minutes, if that person is going to have the capabilities to be a good pilot or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd be one of those. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. You have to
always dreamed about. I'd always dreamed about going into just general aviation, you know, but never did. Never had the kind of money it took to get lessons, and then life and age came, and it never happened. And I got to the point where I flying model airplanes, I saw how fast things can go to hell. I got to thinking, well, maybe it's a good idea I didn't go into aviation. Now, as far as being a A&P, that is something I would really like, except for the part about the responsibility for people's lives that is on me when I'm turning bolts on an airplane. I'm not sure how I would like that. I believe I would be up to it though, but it's got to be something. You got to be the kind of person that takes it very seriously.
Yeah, they're very interesting video.
You don't want to put a number 6 bolt in where a number 8 belongs just because it'll cost you 4 hours to go find another number 8 bolt. You know, that kind of thing.
Just seeing a good lock wire job on a prop is like artwork to me.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was going to say that video that Sparky did recently, he talks about his time in the Navy working on the F-14s and the awards he got contributing towards the paint schemes that they developed in the different squadrons he flew. That's really interesting. It gives a good insight into what he did and where he's coming from and why he's an excellent modeler, and I suppose he's always been very good with his design.
You know, the plane that we get for being a 2017 contributor is a picture of one of the submissions he handed in and won with to do the paint scheme on a plane in the Navy. That's one of his drawings for those planes that you're talking about.
Yeah, the Tomcat is a really nice looking model. The McDonnell Douglas. I remember as a kid, I built one at about the same time he was working on the real ones. I built a little Revell 172 kit. I remember I was really proud of it, and the paint scheme looked very much like what Sparky had made. So, yeah, it's very humbling to realise, he's got quite a wealth of experience there.
Sparky hadn't been in to visit with us lately. I think he popped in for a few minutes one night and had to go to bed. We stay up too late for him, I guess.
I suppose we're all at quite different times. He's a couple of hours ahead of you or something.
He's got to be at a job, and with the quality of his work, he can't be going in there not 100%. He's not that type person.
Yeah. If I went to bed every night when I should, I wouldn't be up doing this show till midnight and a half. But I don't have to do anything critical, so I'm good. I'll catch up the next day.
Well, I'm lucky it's 4:30 here in New Zealand, 4:30 in the afternoon, so I'm not too badly off there. It's just my boys. But I'll just go and grab this phone.
Okay. So what you got going in your shop, Jim?
Oh, I told you guys Friday night that I had a twister. Let's see. Got the wing built.
Oh, yeah. That twister's got a good wing.
I still have to. Oh, and also the fuse is sitting here. I've already cut down the rudder and cut down the canopy just a little bit.
Good. Yeah, that rudder does stick way up on a twister. Yeah, I like the shape of your.
Just makes it a little more pleasing, I think. The outline is just a little too tall, but
makes it a little sleeker the way you cut it back.
And that's really about it. I did the wing yesterday, so I still got to add the bell crank and the adjustable lead outs and the weight box and do the center sheet.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the devil's in the details, and once you get it looking. My problem is once I get it, when it starts looking like an airplane, I get impatient, and it's just the little details that have to be done just gripe me to death.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I think I'm going to be flying this thing next week. I keep telling people, I'll be flying it next week. Hell no. Everything's more complicated than it looks. And you run into, you have to do unplanned engineering to get things to fit right. No telling.
That's correct. I'm trying to decide whether I'm just going to cover the wings in monocoat or I'm going to put silk span on them and paint the whole thing. So
I'm still a monocoat hack. One thing I'm going to do different on my current Cardinal build is paint the fuselage before I put the wing in it. So for the first time, I'm building the wing before I build. I'm building the fuselage before I build the wing. So
that's actually a pretty good idea. I might use that. I might do the fuselage before I do. I'm thinking about putting carbon veil over the from trailing edge of the wing all the way to the end of the fuselage to stiffen it up a little bit. But I haven't fancerized this one, other than I haven't lengthened the fuselage. I don't think I'm going to on this one. The next one I build, I might do that.
Yeah, that's okay. It'll turn corners a little sharper than a longer one with your fuselage. And they say those are great flying planes too. I've never flown one that was not fancerized, but they say they fly fine.
And I've never had a twister, so this is my first one.
Yeah, me too. My fancerized one's the only one I've ever had.
I hear good things about how well they fly. So it's just whether or not the guy on the end of the handle can do it or not.
Has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and that'll be my biggest drawback. Will be the guy on the handle. But it's been 35 years. Well, up until a couple of months ago, it's been 35 years since I picked up a handle. So
you might want to do some dry flying in the workshop before you actually get out there and put it in the air.
I've actually done that. I flew my old Buster. I'll show you a picture of this.
Oh, gosh.
That Buster is 35 years old.
Man, that's a cool plane. Yeah, that's monocoat on the wing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got monocoat on the wing, and the monocoat here is 35 years old. This one had a bunch of tears in it, so all I had was some transparent, so I put the transparent on it.
Yeah. Well, I'm a monocoat hack when it comes to covering wings. That's all I use. I've never covered a wing in anything else.
I did back in the day. I covered a lot with silk span, but it's just been a long time since I've done it. So.
Well, since you're just getting back into it, I'd say monocoat's a great idea because it sure is easier to go in and repair ribs and that sort of thing, and then put it back down and you can't tell it was ever worked on unless you look close. And by then, by the time my planes get that far along, I wear my battle scars like a badge, So
I'm sure. Yeah, that Buster's been has been busted up. I can't even count the number of times and patched back together. And that's.
I think it makes them stronger. I do.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I've got one that's been through the war and back. It's on its second complete covering job. Still flies great, and that's the one I let newbies fly.
Sure.
And I've got an old tired Fox 35, but it's just perfect for that.
Yeah, and that's what I have. I have 3 pristine Fox 35s. I've got a Super Tiger, and these are all motors that I had back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, they're still good.
They run good, So.
Just make sure you keep some castor oil in the fuel. I mean, you want to use the 50%, old engine fuel.
Right. I have a gallon that's got 25% castor in it.
There you go.
Yeah. I run my only Fox 35 on the same 1022 PowerMaster that I run my OS engines on, but I guess it's a good protection if you ever get a lean run to have the high oil in it.
Yeah.
Or if you've got a engine that's been run on pure castor all its life, you wouldn't want to switch it to low oil. But mine seems to be okay with it.
Yep.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want to wash out the varnish and then have no compression. So
I just run 25% oil on everything. It all gets 25%, whether it likes it or not.
Yeah.
I think that's a safe bet. That's a safe bet.
Probably not nice for some of the newer engines, but if I've got to devarnish them at some point, I'll do so.
Yeah.
Yep. That was just a picture of my Vector wing. I'm building a Vector, and it's going to be electric.
Is it the 40 or the?
The Vector 40. And let's see. Here's the. Let's see. Here's the motor.
Hold it up for a minute. Let me click you up so the you two guys can see. Okay, I got you up now. Oh yeah, nice. I like that needle nose spinner too. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah. I kind of got stagnant on the Vector build, and so I decided to just start this twister. And I'll go back to the Vector, but I've got the wing pretty much framed up, and the control system figured out. So I'll fly the Vector with electric. I've been flying RC electrics for several years now, so.
You've got the knowledge and the gear. You have the batteries and the
charge. Got all the batteries and the chargers and stuff, and all your speed controllers. You're ready to roll, man.
Yeah, I've got all that stuff. I've got ordered the timer and all that stuff. So when I get back to it, I'll try it. The thing about electric is. And I'm not speaking from experience here because I haven't never done an electric control line, but it seems like when I want to practice, I can go into town at the high school parking lot on the
weekend.
Yeah, no noise.
No noise to speak of.
That's the secret. There's no noise.
They won't find out you're having fun out there because if they do, the fun police will come.
Yeah.
I have a circle mode just out in my backyard, so I can. I live at a lake, and most of the people that come here only come on the weekends. But I live here, so during the week I can get out there and fly my twister. But
in the evenings, about supper time, my wife likes to watch all the house hunter shows, and when they're looking for things they want, I'm always looking at the yard, saying, "No, man, you got too many trees out there. You need to." Got a few of those and mow a control line circle. When the guy wants a man cave, I'm like, oh, fuck the man cave, man. Give me a workshop and a control line circle.
There you go.
But that's where the electric comes in well. You can do things that you can't otherwise do. I know I've flown places where I'd get in trouble if they knew I'd flown there, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. It's you can sneak into a little quiet park, and it could just be somebody using their electric trimmer to do along their garden edge or something. It can easily be mistaken for a lot of other garden tools. Yeah, lawn trimmer.
But like Charles was saying the other night, the cops came because somebody called them, and they were so fascinated with him flying, they stayed and watched him fly.
I love it.
That's good.
Yeah, I flew electric years ago and went over mainly to flying glows in my diesels. But I have to say, if I had to do a multi, I'd love to do an electric multi. That way it gets rid of all the problems of getting two motors working in unison and starting and stopping at the right time. And my father got me an old B25 Stunter, plans for a B25 Stunter. And I just thought, yeah, it'd be nice to put two 35s in it, but shoots electric makes a lot more sense though.
Yeah, you can get them counter rotating and everything.
Yeah. All the props are there now. You've just got such a big choice of gear for the electric stuff.
Well, I printed off that photo of Bob Hunt's twin stunt thing with the retract gear. That's got my brain turning. I'm telling you.
Is that the south? Is that the south wind?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, or as Sparky calls it, the passing wind.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful plane. I got a couple of pictures of it in my computer's desktop slideshow rotation.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching the videos of it flying, it really makes you realize we're battling, trying to hold on to traditions where there's this new technology that's going to sort of push the envelope a lot further than what we can do with our glow engines. But, yeah,
I just like the sound and the smell of them, and I like the feel of it pulsing at the end of the wires. Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah,
and you can feel the the engine management.
I like to be filthy when I get home from flying too.
Yeah, you're all covered with that gunk, that sweet smell. It's so good.
Yeah, grease and blood all over.
My old green cast was all covered in castor at the end of it, and it had a sweet castery smell that was starting to, it was pleasant though, because I thought, every time I could smell my cast, it was some good flying there. But it's hard to get the idea of flying motors, especially for a vintage model. I think that's one area where you just don't want to put an electric on, but they make sense for scale in particular. I think Sparky had his scale model, and he had the speakers inside of it on the inside of the sides of the fuselage, and it resonates the fuselage sides to create his realistic engine sound. What was it, an ST Ryan or something? I can't remember what it was, the model, his scale model, but the problem was once it's up in the air, you can't hear the sound effects of the motor, of the speakers that clearly. I think it's something that you see on the ground when if it's being judged, it'll sound better to the judges, but once it's up in the air, you mainly hear prop noise.
Heck, when I put a muffler on my LA-46, I can hardly hear it in the air. From outside the circle, I videoed Wayne flying it the other day. It's the P-40's the one that's got the LA-46 on it now, and it barely makes any noise in the video I made, but you can still see smoke coming out the back of it.
Yeah, that's a very well-balanced motor. There's no question.
That rattling sound I mentioned in the video turned out to be the wheels. I think you told me, Terry, or somebody, to take some dental floss.
Yeah, it was me.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, the waxy dental floss. It acts almost like you can adjust it where it's like a friction brake.
Yeah, and I always break the outboard wheel a little bit.
You got it.
Turns out.
Turns out. That's it, man. Words out of my mouth.
Right.
Where would a guy get an LA-46 LA?
There are lots of them on rcgroups.com probably, and they're classifieds, and Stunthangar classifieds too. Other than that, I'm not sure. But you might end up buying one that's got the RC carburetor on it.
Yeah.
And going to somebody.
Here's one of the originals here.
Oh yeah, there you
go. Yeah,
that's my last one.
Got a matching spinner.
Yeah, well,
you know what? I think I'm going to buy a new one for my Cardinal.
Well, this is what's going in the Cardinal. It's never been run.
Which ones are newer versions? Are the blue ones newer or are the silver ones newer?
Well, you know, they came out, I think, together, but the blues were like a limited edition when they came out. I don't really know the reason, but
they're all ABN, right?
Yeah, it's the same motor. One is just anodized blue.
I think I'd rather have a plain one. I don't care for the blue look too much. But well, they're pretty when they're new, but mine's all brown and blue now. But it still runs great. If you don't want to,
they're just
if you don't care about a 4.2 brake, especially, it'll run a sweet, rich stroke.
Mm-hmm.
I just might break down and buy the first new engine I've ever bought for my Cardinal.
Well, the Cardinal deserves a good motor, man. That's a super airplane.
How much breaking in before you can trust an LA-46 at a contest?
Boy, don't ask me. I mean, I put 2-3 tanks through them before I get out and start flying. And then I fly them rich a few flights. And
yeah. Well, ABN, you need to get hot pretty quick to break in, right? Because you want to get you want to get the pinch seated and everything. I mean, I think they like to not be overheated, but they do need the heat for the metallurgy to mate up properly.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not as tight as those Avastars. I think you've got one of the Avastar 61s, Terry.
Yeah, this one. This is what's going in my my Magnum.
Yeah, my one was really tight when it was cold. I had to heat it up with a heat gun.
Yeah.
And
this thing, I've run it on the test bench, and it's a beautiful motor.
That's a cool looking motor.
Yeah, it was. You know, that's Brodax. I wish he would get some more in.
I thought he had them in stock. It's on their website when I last looked, but they're not in stock.
Oh, is it? Well, maybe they did. I don't know. They didn't. I ordered that little Tony kit about 10 days, 2 weeks ago, and they hadn't gotten them in yet. I'll have to check.
Oh, yeah, because sometimes they show.
What I would get. Now I pulled. This came off the the Nobler, the Geetsy Nobler, and I just used it to fit in another plane. But I'd like to get one of these. This is the Brodax 40. Boy,
it's got a lot of fins on it.
Oh, it smells good.
It's got a lot of cooling fins on it.
Yeah. It's a lightweight motor, though. It's really fairly lightweight for a 40. It's way lighter than the LA-46, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I was using on the weekend at our contest, I was using the Fox Hawk, but I found...
Wow, that's a nice motor.
Yeah, they're a nice motor, but I didn't have much suction. I don't know why. And I kept having to put my finger partially over the Venturi to get a start. And I thought, I'm side mounted, it's not a problem. But if I put one in my Magnum and it's inverted, I'm going to have a problem starting it if I can't
you'll have to flip it over to start it.
Yeah, and then I've got to be able to get my finger into there and partially choke it, or either that or the choke size is just too big. It was like 8mm. I don't know what that is in inches, but it wasn't a great starter. I thought, well, that's not going to bode well with being a competition model. But I do have one of those Avastar 61s. Maybe I'll put them both on a bench and see how they measure up, because the Avastar is very light. It's just the factory muffler that's a bit heavy.
Yes.
But the Fox, you can't get parts for them. And one of my Fox Hawks, the rear bearings walked in the case. It's gone back, and it's got all this end slop on a bull race motor that it shouldn't have. And I presume it's got hot at some point, and the outer race of the bull race is moving about now. So that's the problem of using an obsolete engine.
I wonder if this, like we have this company that just south of me called Boca Bearings.
That's
and they have bearings for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, that's who I always get bearings from.
Yeah, they're the best. If you send me I'll get them on the phone. If you send me what you got, I'll call and ask them. Won't cost you anything, and I'll just email you the information back, or you could email them directly. Probably they're real nice people.
Yeah, they are, and they have good help.
Yeah, they can
on their
pick you up with
website.
shims for different bearings. They've always been able to help me and friends with all these exotic engines, and we're constantly, I was going to say screwing around, we're constantly tweaking those Zenoa marine engines to the point where they're blowing connecting rods through the bottom of the hull. But that's the fun, right?
Yeah. What fun is it if it's not a danger to itself and others?
Correct. No, it's not others, just to itself.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't blown mine up yet. But we're just getting into the season now, so.
Need to be pushing it a little harder, I guess, huh?
It's all good.
Those boats are amazing. I've watched them a lot on YouTube, but it looks to me like a boat would be a bear to trim to make it go flat and straight and plane out.
No, it's really not that hard. The kits are designed so well that if you don't start putting a lot of added weight here and there, the boats, they give you a balance point, much like an aircraft.
Yeah.
And you can adjust the ride of the boat with the angle of the rudder and the way that your drive shaft is laying and appearing to the water, because only half a blade's in the water at a time, because we run surface props on these hydros. It's just like a full-scale hydro, except it's 48 inches long instead of 48 feet long.
Yeah.
Or 24 feet long, excuse me, because it's much like a Formula One hydro. Not an unlimited, but a Formula One.
Does the bottom of the hull stay out of water a good bit at a time?
Oh, yeah, there rides on a cushion. You ride on the front two sponsons and then the rear prop. That's it. And the rudder is sticking down. Yeah. It'll be on the bench Friday because I'm got the last coat of primer on it today. So it'll be here Friday.
Now, do you guys buy motors that are already outfitted with cooling jackets see
the Zenoa company, well, my motors are in the house now. They make a marine motor specifically for these boats. And then there's all these little companies out there with very talented, I wouldn't even call them hobbyists, just talented small engine machinists and engineers that come out with their own crankshafts and their own little heads and cooling heads and things. And you got Bonsai Sports, you got Gizmo Motors, you've got Zip Kits, and my Backlash, that kit, that's my favorite kit so far is my Backlash. But I just started building the new Zip Kit round nose hydro. It's more of a nostalgia looking boat. It's called the SLR Missile. If you go to their website, they have some real nice videos on it. In fact, I might have sent them to you for your sons. Did you get those or not? I'll have to resend them, the links. Anyway, but yeah, they're if you've got a pond near you, man, I mean, it's an added dimension. They're fun. And you don't need a lot of support equipment. You just need a little can of regular fuel with some 2-cycle oil, and their pull start and a 2-channel radio, and you're going to have some fun.
That sounds a lot of fun, but I've never seen them in real life around in New Zealand. I don't think there's that many places they can actually run a motorized boat. I've seen the model yachts racing.
Electric and the sailboats, right?
Yeah. But the motorized ones, they seem to, like anything that's fun, they tend to push it out and It gets driven out somewhere where you can't see it.
Well, yeah, the engines, like the one class, this new boat that I'm building from Zip Kits, this SLR missile, nice kit, $200. I mean, $200, and there's a mountain of plywood there, and it builds a beautiful boat. The class that boat runs in, you run with a stock Zenoa motor, so the motor's about $300. And believe me, you're not going to blow it up because it's a stock motor. And that builds a mid 60s, low 70s mile an hour boat, 69, 70 easy on the straightaways.
Boy, that's hauling ass on the water.
Yeah,
Well, the other hydros, you can get them all, a little over 100 in the straights.
Yeah.
But you don't really want a lake that long because you don't want to get the boat that fast. They leave the water. So we like these little compact ponds and do like a triangle shaped course. And,
That sounds like a lot of fun.
But all my boats have the Gator Bait Racing Team. That's what we call our team. And my younger son came up with that name because when the old nitro boats would stall out in the middle of the pond, you had to get in this little blow up dinghy and paddle out with your hands and your perfect gator bait. So that's what we name all our boats. Gator Bait Racing.
And my flying buddy, a multi-hobbied individual, multi-talented individual, builds sailboats and sloops, and they are beautiful too. He's got a couple of them in his shop, and he and one of his other friends, also a RC guy, RC pilot, go out, and I think they used to sail in little regattas now and then, but I hadn't seen him messing with them too much later. But they're a beautiful sight, those little sailboats. Actually, they're big.
Fairly big, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you know what ones he has?
No, I
what
don't.
The class he sailed? Oh yeah.
No, I don't. I have no idea.
Yeah, there's bunches of them. They're cool. They're very cool.
Yeah, I come from a long line of sailors, and my dad and his dad sailed in regattas. They had wooden boats on Lake Murray here in Columbia, or near Columbia, South Carolina. Lake Murray is a world-renowned bass fishing lake.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, championship fishing here. But yeah, when I was a little kid, he and my dad and his dad would go out, and he had a 18-foot Hampton and a 21-foot Herreshoff. I don't know if either one of those names sounds at all familiar to you. He didn't to Wayne. I asked him, and he said no, he didn't know the names.
I've heard the names. I'm just trying to picture what they are. They're all wood boats.
They are.
Yeah.
They don't have a cabin of any sort. Now, you could
little cockpit.
Crawl up under the bow, I guess, if you wanted to take a nap.
Boat.
Yeah. But and it was a rudder with a hand tiller at the rear, no wheel.
Sure. Well, are you familiar with the Star sailboat?
I don't think so.
It's basically a home built. I guess they do make them, but back in the day, it was basically a kit or plans. And anyway, they race those up on the Great Lakes. So I was lucky enough to get involved with my grandfather in building one of those. But it's a keel boat, so you have to keep it down by the water, and then you put it in the spring, and it stays out moored, and sail it, and then in the winter you pull it out.
Yeah. Now, my dad's boats had, both of them, as far as I remember, had center boards that they would drop in.
Yeah, much more convenient having a center board.
Yeah. And I think they were hinged.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No, that's convenient. More versatile. You can trailer it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I guess it does take a special trailer to haul a keeled boat.
Yeah, it's, we kind of assembled my boat down at the yacht club, and in the bottom of the keel we had to put these big chunks of railroad rail to get the weight right, and then that's bolted up, and that just stays wet down there. It's all fiberglass and has drain holes in it. And you got to have a crane to put that thing in the water, man. Yeah, but it's real easy. It takes 2 minutes, swing it in, swing it out. You know?
Yeah.
But when you're in the water, having a keel is a good thing. And a keeled bulb down there, 6 feet. That's nice. Makes for a fast boat. And these boats have real big jibs. And that's really where you get your power.
I recall my dad's boats having big jibs too.
Yeah, oh yeah, man. That's what drives it.
Yeah, that's right, because he used to swing that jib out straight into so the wind would fill it up sometimes. I never did learn to sail other than little sunfish sort of boats.
Well, a jib can direct the wind going over the main sail, and the main sail gets a shape like a wing. Seriously. Pulls the boat forward even quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And those rigid wings like they used in the last America's Cup, there it is. So.
Yeah, there's that connection with planes. Yep.
Yep.
Well,
yeah,
that's
what it is. They're just flying laterally. That's all they were doing.
Yeah.
They're sailplanes running on water with one wing.
Yeah. There's a lot of technology in it now.
Yeah, hopefully now we'll maybe get back to old sailboats. I love the catamarans and I love of course the foiling. I love it, but I wouldn't mind if we get back to regular sailboats.
Well, it just seems so far from the average boat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's got so high tech.
Yeah, I was down at the Intercoastal the other day, and I know they have these kits. My son said, "Oh, you can get that on eBay." But there was a guy out there. He had like a 3-speed bike, and it was on a hydrofoil. And he was just scooting down the river at about 30 miles an hour. and it's a bike hydrofoil. But I've heard that he's crashed numerous times. And when you crash on one of those, it's not good. Because here we have all these oyster bars and stuff. And, I don't know. It was cool, though, when he came by. If you could stay in deep enough water, I guess it's a cool thing.
You can still see the scars in my feet where I fell into an oyster bank, an oyster bar.
Yeah. It'll kill you. It'll slice you up like bologna.
Oh, yeah. That was the first stitches I ever had. As far as I remember. That was when I was 13.
Yep. I was a young kid ran a nail through his foot and at the Boy Scout thing, so I ran him to the emergency room, and I was there, and he was getting his tetanus shot. Everything was going smooth, and they brought this sort of plump, overweight tourist in that had fallen off a paddleboard because a boat came by with too much wake, and it threw him into the oyster bar. And he rolled around and flopped on that oyster bar, and everybody told him to swim away from the oyster bar. But of course, he didn't do that. He had to climb out on the oyster bar. So he was laying on a stretcher, and he didn't look good.
Where I spend time at the beach in the summertime, there's lots of creeks and estuaries, and we go in them. We don't go in them without old tennis shoes on.
Exactly.
Old sports shoes on. That's just dumb, except for my aunt who goes out there and takes her shoe off and searches for clams under the mud with her toes, but somehow she doesn't get cut out, but I'm not about to do that.
Yeah, and you want to shuffle your feet so you don't step on a stingray.
Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, when you step on a stingray, he just shoots out from under your foot and it folds his spine down. But boy, you don't want to get caught with one of those.
Yeah, there's enough guys getting hit around here all the time.
Yeah,
it's usually people that just come here to retire or spend their first winter down here, and yeah, just little things, just shuffle your feet when you walk through the sand, going out to, throw your bait, out into the river or whatever. Like the speckled trout is just about ready to go here, and man, those things are delicious.
I never understood why people felt the need to wander so far out in the water just to cast. I can cast.
Yeah.
I can cast a motherfucking rig.
You got it, man. If your rod's set up right, you should be able to cast. No problem.
I know when we get gray hair, we always sit around and talk about how good we were at stuff, but I swear to God, I could outcast anybody on the beach with my 9-foot ugly stick and my Daiwa 4000 reel.
I love it.
And I re-spooled it a couple of times, and I have not been able to cast quite as far with the new line as I used to cast with the old DuPont Stren. And
that's Stren's still a good line. That's still a good line.
I don't know if it's me losing my strength so much, or the line, or maybe a combination of both. But I can't put it as far out as I used to. But I still don't wander out into the ocean waist deep just to cast.
No, you don't have to.
Charles,
there he is. I gotta run and get my charger. I'll be right back.
You have a good supper, Charles?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So in California, do y'all eat dinner or do y'all eat supper at this time of the
dinner.
night? Okay.
Dinner. Yeah. I remember when I was out in Ohio.
More people about which one's dinner. Is it lunch or supper?
I know. Out here, I've been going to dinner most of my life. I went back to Ohio to visit my in-laws. I remember they were talking about supper, and stuff like that.
Yeah. I guess it's the big meal of the day is dinner. If you eat like farmers, they go out and work from sun up until it's time to eat in the middle of the day before they go back out, and they eat a big, huge meal. And I don't know, I think they call that dinner. I'm not sure. And then I don't know what to eat when they come in at night. So my wife's a farmer, not me. I'd have to ask her about what they called it.
Yeah. What you guys been talking about?
Sailboats and power boats, model sailboats, model power boats, and then we graduated to full-size sailboats. We talked about a few. We talked about planes a little bit after you left. Got into plane engines, and then we segued into sailing and watercraft.
Yeah, I remember I was telling you last time I'm always pursuing more performance, so I'm shaving off my. I shaved off 3/8 of an inch off my flaps.
That's it.
So I'm hoping that this will give me tighter maneuvers. I got that tip from Bob Whiteley.
Did you try changing from muffler pressure to pressure inside your cowl, or did you have any chance to change around your pressure system, Charles?
No, I actually still have the muffler pressure as it's set up. But speaking of that, I'm actually going to I'm going to take out a set of Venturis out there with me tomorrow and try bigger and bigger Venturis to get more power. Because I have enough power, but I want more. It seems like when I'm doing the hourglass, and observers thought that it just seemed like the plane was slowing down, going up. It didn't have like the authority going up. It could do it. It just was slowing down.
Yeah.
We thought that I might need a little more power.
You might find your needle a little more difficult to set with a bigger Venturi, but see what happens. I'm interested to hear a report on that.
Yeah.
I probably will do a combination of larger venturis and fool around with the head shims too. So I hope I have enough time tomorrow to do all that I want to do.
Well, you normally fly in the morning, don't you, Charles?
Yeah,
after work or something.
Tomorrow evening, so I have to pick up my kids are out of school, so that's good. Because usually I have pick up my kids out of school, certain classes they have. We homeschool them, but they do go to school a couple days a week, and on Tuesdays the day they go to school. But this week they're out of school, so I might have enough time.
What about music and athletics? Is that what they go to school for?
Yeah, they. My son takes. He's taking the saxophone lessons or band, and he's playing the saxophone. And my daughter, she's playing the clarinet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess if they wanted, do they have to, by law, do they have to have some physical? What did we call it?
Yes, physical fitness.
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife vlogs on when they go outside and play, and that's all recorded. So I think it's every 6 or so weeks my wife has to go to school and show them all samples of their work and their physical fitness logs. But I do help them with. I'm not the coach, but I help out. I help out with soccer, and we just had our last soccer game last weekend, and then baseball will be starting up soon, so I'll be helping.
Yeah.
So that's where they get some of the exercise too.
Yeah, they're getting a pretty rich, well-rounded education. Then it sounds like. I'm glad there is some oversight that you have to go show, what they've been doing and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, she basically brings in all the work, and the teacher actually picks what the teacher wants to look at. So. And
do they have to take any year-end testing or anything like that administered by the schools?
Yeah, there's some standardized state tests they take. Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of work. Yeah, they're not getting away with it easily being homeschooled. It's obviously a lot of work for everybody.
No, they got you jumping through hoops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say they are homeschooling or were homeschooled, and I always thought homeschooling was theoretically a good possibility or a good idea, but always wondered how well some of these parents were really doing it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and the kids do good, and the program we're in is actually goes all the way through high school, and I've known some other homeschool pupils who've gone on to college, and they're doing well.
Yeah,
and so it works, and that one guy who that one football player used to always kneel. What's his name? Tebow or guy that
Tim Tebow.
Yeah, he was a homeschool person himself. What was him being homeschooled? That he actually won the Heisman.
That's right, because they were missionaries and were all over the world all the time during school season and all too. So I guess that's why he was homeschooled.
Yeah, but I thought it was pretty impressive that he actually got the Heisman, being a homeschool student. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, he played baseball for our minor league team here in Columbia last year.
All right.
Yeah, he wanted to go into baseball, and everybody laughed, and he came on with us here in Columbia for the Columbia Fireflies and did pretty well, and they upgraded him from AAA to AA. He's down in Florida now.
Wow.
Which is probably fine with him because that's his home. There was a lot of grumbling and griping about how other players weren't as good as him, yet still were playing AAA, but he went to AA this year and flat out proved wrong there because he was slamming home runs and RBIs like there was no tomorrow. So good for him.
Oh, very good.
And he's a talking head on Sundays, Saturdays on college football day too. So he's got it going on. And he's a devoutly religious guy.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's an empty claim like you might, you wonder about some people, but I don't doubt it with him.
Yeah, I hope he continues to be, walk a good walk, because there's so many of us Christians, who profess to be Christians and they do some horrible things. Back when I was working in financial services, I hardly ever told my prospects or clients that I was a Christian, just because of I found that so many Christians that were in financial services, I come behind them and clean up their messes they left behind. Some of the things they did, I was just like, man, how could you in a Christian do that? And so I had people, my customers would ask me, they go, by the way, Charles, are you a Christian? I say, yes. And I thought I could tell by the way you conduct yourself. I wouldn't necessarily, do that.
I'm kind of a don't ask, don't tell sort of guy when it comes to religion.
Yeah, some people, feel comfortable doing that, and that's fine,
Yeah.
I actually hate the term being called religious. I have friends who say, Charles, you're very religious, and I always correct them and tell them I'm not religious. I know too many people that are religious that are really selfish, mean, bigots. I mean, there's a whole long list behind people who are very religious. So I clarify that I have a personal relationship with my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, all these
That's
white supremacists.
Mouthful, but don't call me anything. Don't call me religious.
All
these
white supremacists claim to be religious too. So, do what you want in the name of God. I'll give you the credit I believe you deserve.
Yeah. Well, even like the Ku Klux Klan, a lot of the when it's formed, you would be surprised how many ministers and pastors joined the Ku Klux Klan, which is so. Yeah. I mean, you'd think that would be something that a minister of the gospel wouldn't want to join. It would be the Ku Klux Klan, but they were lining up.
Okay, that's our 5-minute allowable window on religion.
All right.
You know what?
I'm into airplanes. I'm into two things: airplanes and to my Lord and Savior. Those are two things.
You know what? We don't have one single YouTube follower tonight. I wonder why that is. Never ever happened, and we've got 0 viewers watching the video tonight. I wonder why that is.
I don't know if it got posted to YouTube.
It's posting right now.
Oh, is it?
It's posting right now because I got it turned on in my background window, but it's not publicly listed. But I let it stay publicly listed long enough for everybody to get their notification via YouTube.
Oh yeah.
And then I turned it off. Maybe I need to leave it on longer.
Is it on? Is it on Stunthangar? Because I don't see it on Stunthangar.
Yeah, it's on Stunthangar.
I mean, Stunthangar YouTube. I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, my when I went in to get a drink, my friends were texting me in there. It was showing up not on this, but on my other product, and they were saying, are you on? Are you on? We can't find it. We can't find it. So I don't know.
Really?
They just couldn't. Yeah.
I don't see it on YouTube.
No, they're not. No, you can't find it on YouTube. Well, believe me, my friends are not inept. It's not listed. They couldn't find it.
Well, I usually get an email.
Yeah, I
usually get an email that says Stunthangar's live, and it hasn't come across my email yet.
No kidding. Okay.
Anyway,
I'm gonna go back and.
This is for practicing.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and make it public again and see if any more drop in because we still got more than an hour to go. If I can,
I'm gonna have to go and make dinner. And we've got our club meeting tonight, so I'm gonna have to get moving. But
okay,
good seeing you, Gerald.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us.
I'm gonna send you a couple videos for you and the boys.
And I'll send some links through to you people.
All right, appreciate it.
I haven't got an email address for Charles but I got Terry and Rusty. So if you forward me on anybody else's
Charles, and I'll copy Charles if it's okay. When I
yeah,
email you next, I'll copy Charles so he'll have yours.
Oh, that'd be good.
great.
Yeah. Okay,
I think I'm subscribed to Gerald's page.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll
Well, I'll
subscribe.
bid you a good night.
All righty.
Good night, and catch up with you next time.
Take care, Gerald.
All right, Gerald.
Alrighty.
Okay, see you later, Gerald.
Yeah, see you, Jim. Goodbye.
Okay,
Yeah,
we're listed as public now.
is it now? Can we check? Yep, now I see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
I listed it as private.
It's
to
been
avoid.
glitching. It was glitching too. All of it's been glitching for days.
Yeah. Yo, the last show we did Friday night, it was horrible. My feed kept dropping completely, and YouTube would quit recording when I dropped out, but I had to jump through 3 or 4 hoops to get back in and turn it back on. And then we, continued our conversation. But Charles, you were here. Maybe you remember me disappearing a couple of times.
Yes, I remember that. And I remember Jim's audio was tough for a while too.
And all that reverbing going on. And then once when I dropped out and came back, my voice started reverbing, and I don't think y'all could understand half of what I was saying.
You had echo with you, Rusty.
Yeah.
Bad echo.
I don't have any now, though, do I?
No.
Okay, good. All right. Well, maybe some people will see us and jump in now. Hopefully, it won't be the off-topic guys. Is the right way to call it.
Oh yeah.
But if they do, and if we turned it off now, at least we would have had a pretty good show so far. So
yeah.
But that last group that we found out who it was, and both Mia and Sparky filed complaints.
Excellent.
But they're still on.
Oh,
they
sure.
hadn't
There's
taken
no
that
teeth.
video down. They hadn't banned them or anything.
There's little teeth unless you put up real pornographic stuff. And if they've done that and they're not doing anything, then they got a bigger problem.
Well, they came on and said, exterminate all the
I heard
Jews.
it.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
If that's
I mean, that's I don't know. That's bad.
If that's not bad enough, geez. Or doing it on your own movie might be one thing, but doing it on somebody else's movie and then copying their movie and posting it on your channel, I mean, that sounds like a bannable infraction to me.
Yeah, that's a definite infraction.
I don't know. They're probably watching us now. So anyway.
I filed a report as well.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you put a comment on there.
I put a couple of comments on there, and then I found out I probably shouldn't have done that. But
so did Gerald. But you saw I did too. So I didn't do anything provoking, though. I just, asked them if they didn't have enough brain cells to have a more fruitful fun. But whatever.
I told them to take a long walk off a short cliff.
Damn, I drank all my coffee. I need to go refill my cup.
I just made some coffee.
They'll probably jump in while I'm gone. I'll be right back.
So, Charles, where are you?
I'm here in Escondido, which is about 20 minutes north of San Diego.
I got you. Okay.
And
just wondering where you were.
Yeah, I'm out here in the right coast.
I'm in Central West Texas.
Oh, okay.
That's a nice area.
I've never been to Texas.
A lot of space to fly RC out there, man.
Oh, and I have for a lot of years.
Yep. Plus, you got prairie dogs and coyotes, which I like to play with.
Yeah, we got lots of coyotes.
Yeah, I got a 22-250 Savage that loves to play.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just got a can for it.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
What is that? What you described? What was that, Terry? What's that?
We'll talk on.
Okay, over there.
Yeah, we're not supposed to mention that other name.
Okay.
Terry
Starts
and
with
the
an S.
Pirates. Terry at the and sign the Pirates. Come over anytime, right, Charles?
Anytime. I understand. I totally get that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jeez, yeah. They may have been flying
Well,
in
Charles.
What, Jim?
I said you missed my tour of my new twister build.
I did.
Yeah, it looks good. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing it again.
Okay.
Yeah, please indulge me. I love twisters.
Charles is in the building mode. He's in a building trying to get any little tips he can on building.
Absolutely.
As I am too. I'm always looking for tips.
I did something, guys. I don't know what I did. All right. I tried to turn the phone around.
Oh, here we go.
No, nice wing. Let me click it full screen here.
Yeah, same here. I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah. Very nice.
There's the wing framed up. And then this is my little mods to the fuselage, cut down. And
Oh, that's nice. That's a good idea.
Reshaping the fin.
Very good.
There you go.
On the doublers, I'm gonna add triplers to these doublers.
Yeah, I did that to my twister. I put triplers on them.
I'm gonna use, I think, 3/32 or 1/32 plywood underneath the 1/8 inch plywood on both
Yeah, my
sides.
triplet was just like a 1/2 inch balsa, and so I just shaped it. I shaped it round. A 1/2 inch balsa gave me a lot of wood to work with.
And then I have, I don't know what I did with it. I have some carbon veil. I think I'm going to put from the trailing edge to the very end of the tail to just
stiffen that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'll keep it from twisting.
That's a good idea. Either that or fiberglass.
Don't know
are you going to dope it on? Are you going to dope it on, or are you going to epoxy it on?
Well, I was going to ask you guys. How does I've never doped on carbon veil. Does that work okay?
I don't think carbon veil has a lot of strength of its own. And
yeah, I think you need to use epoxy with carbon veil.
Yeah.
That would be my call.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't do a whole lot with dope anymore.
What about finishing epoxy? Do you think that would be a good in between?
I would use some Z-epoxy finishing resin, mix small batches, and I'd even put a couple drops of a denatured alcohol in it, the fuel.
Okay.
Just to thin it even a little more.
I have West Systems laminating epoxy.
Well, that'll work too, and
that's probably it.
And that is even a longer cure time, so that's not bad.
And it's a lot thinner than the regular epoxy.
Yeah. So you won't have to thin it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so do you do laminating with that before, but never on an airplane.
So is that the 105 resin you have? The 105?
Yeah, I have 105 and 106.
There you go. You're all set.
And do you think we should paint it on and then card it off? Scrape it off with a card or a squeegee?
I would probably roll the epoxy on, let it go into the wood. Then I'd lay the carbon on. I'd roll more epoxy over the carbon. And then you have to be careful when you're carding over the carbon not to disrupt all the fibers.
Right.
So you might even put down you want to be careful in using like wax paper on epoxy, but you can do it. There's a cheap brand of wax paper that you can get at where did I see it? I bought a whole bunch. I bought a whole little cart of it. old time pottery. It was like 90 cents a roll. And it's a bad wax paper. It has very little wax on it, but that's the good part because you can use it between, like on top of a lamination and use your credit card or your squeegee to squeegee it, let it cure, and you can peel it off like peel ply, and it doesn't leave any wax behind, compromising your next layer or your paint or whatever you're going to.
Right. I've got some parchment paper. What about that? Would that do as good a job?
Parchment will tend to stick, but there's a trick to that, and I'm trying to think of what they used. It was something ridiculous like Pam. You use the shiny side of the but then again, I haven't tried that, and I would hesitate to tell you because my fear is without using like a blocker film or bleeder cloth, which is commonly used in vacuum bagging. If you used a cheap wax paper, I know for a fact you're not getting the wax left behind. But my friend does this thing where he uses that parchment paper and he wipes it with, I'm trying to think what he does, but I'm sure that leaves residue on that freshly molded surface. And then when you go to try to primer and stuff, some of those release agents are still there forever. And to me, that's not a good thing.
Yeah. My son has a vacuum bagging system, and I was thinking about trying to vacuum bag it.
Well, now
if he's got it, I mean, it's only a minute or two, and even with the scraps of the bag materials, enough to do the fuselage.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking also that if I laid carbon veil over the whole fuselage underneath the doublers and then put the doublers back on top.
Yeah.
And all the way to the back and then vacuum bag it.
It's kind of overkill for a profile, but it'd be cool.
Well, it would.
If he's got it, it's only, once you've got the equipment, it's like, we recently moved our glider wings into this resin transfer molding. I was telling somebody earlier, I'll probably do wet bag layups for prototypes and stuff, but for using the blue foam and on these glider wings, we're using resin transfer molding. We lay everything up dry, and then you start your vacuum pump. We feed the resin along the leading edge of the wing through this special split tubing that they sell at Fiberglass through a T-fitting. And you watch the resin flow through the wing. Then we put the top cradle on, weight it down, shut the resin off, don't pump any more in. Yeah, I'm telling you. And the wings come out within grams of one another.
Wow. Let's back up to the beginning of the process. You said to put the epoxy on the wood first, but would it not be a good idea to use something like hairspray to keep hairspray on the wood first to keep it from absorbing too much epoxy?
Well, I've never really had that difficulty, but I have used the hairspray method on sheeting foam wings. But on the fuselage, it's not going to soak in that deep. I would think the strength you're going to gain for that. Anyway, what twister do you haven't had to put lead in the tail? So I'd rather have it in structure than a hunk of lead.
Yeah. You're true.
I mean, Charles, ever have a twister without lead in the tail?
My twister actually, I lengthened it. So
well, let's see mine too. I Fantonized mine with 3 1/4 inch, but no, the new one doesn't require any lead because I had that perfect tail wheel that was just a little heavy and it worked perfect.
Well, Jim's had infantilized, so his might be.
So he'll be putting a little lead in the tail, which is nothing wrong with that to get it to balance. So go ahead and make that bulletproof, man. And, and if you run a good 2-inch spinner on the front, like a Dubro, my kids were burying those things in this wet grass here in Florida. I mean, nose diving these things in. We were repairing them at the field and keep flying. And I always run with a little, I don't use pantyhose, but I'm big into tropical fish. So I go through a lot of fish nets. And I don't throw the old nets away because that netting is what I use for my air filter.
Okay.
And I use the little rubber bands that go along with orthodontics.
Oh,
If you have a kid in braces, just go to that little rack where they have all the rubber bands. Because my
I never
last
can
visit
find
in there, I
went
took a
looking
bunch.
for those for that purpose one time and couldn't find them at any grocery store or
No, you
pharmacy.
can't get them at a grocery. You got to go to orthodontics office.
Yeah.
You know, and they're little packs of rubber bands. They use them to, leverage the braces while they're moving. Anyway, you put that on there and you can run a good Fox 35 into the dirt. And by having that little screen on there, it keeps the dirt from really getting into the venturi, and just flush it out with fuel and super epoxy the tail back on, because you're going to scrape that tail off a bunch of times. And that's part of the learning process, right, Charles?
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't you worry about it. Just glue it on and get back up.
That buster I have there has been broken 5 or 6 times, and I've glued it back together.
Well, there you go. So, well, there will become this thing. It's almost like an awakening where you're not going to crash as much until you start trying to do these maneuvers.
Yeah. When I picked up the handle a couple of months ago, the first time in 35 years, my son launched the airplane for me, and I flew it around, and it felt good. It felt just like it did 35 years ago. And then I started doing lazy eights, and went right straight into inverted flight and outside loops, inside loops. I didn't do any squares.
Yeah, but still, that's good.
Yeah, it felt real good to me. So
I don't think you ever forget these skills. I think they can go dormant, but you can sharpen them up and bring them back.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that's what I can do.
Yeah.
I'll start out flying beginner this contest season.
There you go.
Contest season.
Very good.
Okay, Minnesota Mike just showed up. He says, "Wow, no notifications." So I wonder how long I have to be online before it sends notifications out to YouTubers.
I don't know, man.
I only gave it about listed. 2 minutes tonight. So I'll leave it on about 10 minutes next time. Because everybody I asked last time said they had the YouTube notification.
Oh, yeah.
It still hasn't come across my email, Rusty.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wonder where Wally's at. Have you seen Wally or heard from him?
I talked to Wally earlier, and he didn't know if he would be back in time or something. I don't know. Maybe he'll get on.
Okay, good.
He had something going on.
Yeah. Well, he might not have been able to find the notification. So
that's true too.
That was my best method for keeping the invaders out. But
oh yeah.
Was you gonna grab that fuselage, Sherry, or what?
Well, I was gonna grab it, but it's under a couple things. I was gonna get my twister. Do you want me to grab it? I was just gonna show Jim.
Yeah, grab it.
Yeah, hold on.
Just a minute.
And Terry's got a garage full of stuff back there. So does Mike Leinke, boy. He's got planes covering every wall in his shop.
Here's the twister. All right.
Terry, after we talked the other night, I had to go watch some fishing videos.
Those are good.
I spent about 4 hours watching fishing videos.
I love it.
Minnesota Mike said he tried to rejoin Stunthangar, but it says his name is already used. Mike, you need to email Sparky and tell him, and he'll reset you. And his email is,
okay.
click on his name.
Here's
wherever
my,
you see it.
it's just ready for covering, and it's had its last coat of balsamite, and it's ready for covering. This is my Franken twister.
Wow, very nice.
Oh, that's cool.
I really like it.
Yeah, got adjustable tank mount.
Very good, buddy.
But no metal mount on this one because it was already getting too nose heavy, so I just didn't do it. I try to use the the tuning fork mounts,
Right.
But these will be monocoated here shortly because we've got, I love the family holidays and I love family, but I can, as the family's trickling through and we're doing different things and talking to different people, I can get my monocoat iron out and sit there and monocoating. And my wife, there's that little sweet smell of the monocoat. That's about it.
Yeah, it's true. It's a nice sweet smell. You're right about that.
Yeah, and to bring the fuselage in, and I do little pieces starting at the tail. And anyway, you'll see. It'll look like it's dipped in red plastic here by Friday.
Yeah. Now, do you use the small iron the whole time, or do you use the regular?
No, I've got. I really like that cover right set where you get the trim iron and the regular iron, and the cover right iron has those kind of towards the rear of the base of the iron. It has like two cheeks that stick out, rounded. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
No. Mm-hmm.
But Tower, like right now for the Christmas season, Black Friday, I know they've got these things going on. And I don't, God bless Tower Hobbies. They're all employee owned, good people. But they've got that iron going on, the Christmas stocking thing. And you get like the trim iron and the main iron and a new sock and maybe one of those hot gloves in a kit. And, those irons go bad very quickly because the heating elements and stuff, they only, I guess it depends on how many planes you do. But we do quite a few gliders, and I had both my irons going these last couple Wednesdays for the Boy Scouts, and one of my older ones, the top flight one, I just let them keep it because it just doesn't get hot enough for me.
Yeah,
I like to get it where there's times when I need it to be hot enough where when I pass the iron over the monocoat, it just starts to discolor. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the critical temperature. And that you don't want to keep hitting it with that, but like along trailing edges and leading edges where you have mating surfaces, you want to get that color change.
Right. I have on my Nobler, I have a white and red right next to each other.
Yeah.
And I wanted a straight line. And so I had it just warm enough to adhere, but if I did it too warm, then I'd have a wiggly line. I wanted a straight line. And so I had two irons. One was just warm enough, and then one was I needed to shrink up, certain areas.
Yeah. I as I was growing up and the monocoat came to the surface, it was brand new. My mother said, "That's it for the dope, out the door." And, she offered to buy the covering, so I couldn't really bitch too much.
Right.
But she just hated the smell of that dope in my little workshop downstairs. And I had it in the furnace room so that I had this little fan I could kick on. So when I did the dope, it blew it up the chimney. I don't even know how she smelled it. But I really followed all the monocoat, and I've gone to all the weak signal shows and all the big RC hobby shows, and there's some guys that can put monocoat down where it looks better than Sparky's paint jobs.
Dane Martin's
paint
one
jobs
of them.
aren't too shabby.
Yeah, Dane Martin's one of them.
Who is that, Rusty?
And
Dane Martin.
Dane Martin. Okay, I know there's another guy. I know his last name I think was with an R. But I've never seen their work in person, but I've heard they are just fantastic.
Well, I bought a couple books like Harry Higley's There Are No Secrets, and he's got a lot of stuff in there. And it's there's just little tricks with it. It's just like anything else.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, I have the.
and obviously, the Chinese learned how to apply it because some of the ARFs coming through have some really. A buddy of mine got a brand new Top Flight P-47 ARF
right
from Tower. Came today. I went and looked at it, and man, I don't know how they can sell that thing for $700. Because that's one heck of an airplane, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I mean, just to pull a quarter scale airplane out of a box and he can have it flying possibly by Saturday with electric retracts. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, I have the monocoque, the Top Flight monocoque video, and I have the book by I think his name is Faye Stay or something.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I have 2 of his books. I mean, I've been trying to be a student of monocoque because you know, that's what I was doing. That's what I've been doing most of my modeling has been monocoque.
Yeah.
You know, I'm only going to paint because I'm just I've had problem with just lifting. Like my Nobler, with all the monocoque that's on there, sometimes I have lifting, and you know, I mean, that Nobler had 217 flights on it, you know, and I was just experiencing some lifting and just the maintenance of having to maintain the monocoque.
But kind you didn't have any cover right under there, did you?
Oh, on the turtle deck, there is cover right on the turtle deck.
Oh, there was? Okay. Well, then fuel
on the turtle
must
deck,
have got under it.
No lifting on the turtle deck either. So maybe you're onto something.
Yeah. You know, I don't use it. I use it on the leading edges and the trailing edges and the flaps and my wingtips. And if I have some cap strips, I'll hit it with a light coat because it lays the fuzz down on the monocoque. It penetrates slightly into the wood so that when the monocoque adhesive hits that adhesive, it all becomes one.
Okay, I use it more often then. I have a can of it in my garage.
I really hit the fuselage. I give my fuselage a minimum of 2 coats, and sometimes the front end 3 coats, and I lightly sand with, I think it's 220 or 400 in between. You know, just to.
And do you thin it?
When I first put it on, I have a thin can.
I
do kind of the windy thing. I've got 2 cans here. I've got a new can that I just bought, and I have the old can where the thin stuff is. And what I do is I always work out of the old can, and I'll put a shot of thinner in and pour some new stuff. I'll shake it up, let the bubbles go out, paint that on the 4 fuselages I have to cover. Then I'll come back, lightly sand it, and I'll go with full strength. But whatever was left in that can, I pour fresh full strength on it. So you're pouring on just a little bit of the old thin stuff. But usually the final coat is full strength.
What kind of cans?
It'll flow out. And it's, huh?
What kind of cans do you use for storing used and already mixed up dopes and paints and stuff?
Well, I use the cans that the it's just sitting right here.
The paint store sells cans. That's probably a good place to.
Yeah, they sell cans.
Yeah.
But I just have the 2 cans of the Balsa-Rite.
Right.
And I just picked up a new can the other day, and I pour from the new can in the old can with some thinner. Give it a shake, and I just kind of eyeball it.
I've gotten to where I'm using thinned dope, and I get through and still have some left over. I'll pour it in another jar, and over a period of time, it looks like some of it gases off and it looks thicker than it did. So I add some more thinner, and eventually I never know how much is in it. So I need to kind of learn to eyeball it and look and decide how much thinner's in it. And I guess it doesn't matter for the first.
Well, you can always dip in a little piece, like you cut some paper towel in little strips and just dip the paper towel in it, let it dry, and you'll get your percentage of how much dope the thinner you got. But you got to let the paper dry.
And
My
just
friend was
learn how
doping
long
the
it
heck
takes
out of
for
a
it to
wing
dry.
as kids.
Yeah.
He was doping the heck out of this wing as kids, and I was jealous because he could use dope. I finally told him, Carl, how many coats you got of this? He goes, about 8. So we did the dip test. He was just basically painting thinner on his wing.
Yeah.
So anyway.
But if it's,
it can happen.
I always figure if it's got any visible viscosity when you shake it around and watch it drain down the side of the, it's got enough for your first thin coats. And I hope I'm guessing right there. And so far it seems to work, but I'm only talking on wood, not on wings and stuff like that either.
Where'd Terry go?
He must have gotten knocked off. I don't know. Maybe his phone died.
Yeah, I was going to ask him about, okay, you got your paper towel and it's dry. How do you know how does that tell you what percent dope you have?
I guess it depends on how stiff it is.
Okay, that might be the clue. That's probably what it is, the stiffness.
Let me ask you guys a
question. What you say, Jim?
Let me ask you guys a question.
All right.
I too started with Monocoat when it first came out years and years ago, long time ago. And it seems like it's changed. The last RC airplane I covered with Monocoat, it didn't seem to be the same as it was when it first came out. And is that what you guys use, Monocoat, or do you?
That's my favorite. Between Ultracoat and Monocoat, I use Monocoat.
Okay.
Yeah, I use both.
Ultracoat.
Yeah. And my last plane I did was actually Ultracoat. My Nobler.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I use. I've only been using iron-on since about 2011, maybe, and so this change that I hear the guys on Stunthangar talking about may have come along before I started using it. So
and I think it did, but I probably missed out on the change because back in the 70s I started using Monocoat when it first came out, and in fact I covered a Nobler with it back in the 70s, and this Buster back here has the red, not the transparent, but the opaque red is Monocoat. And it sat in my dad's attic for 25 years, and it never wrinkled.
Wow!
But the new stuff, I say new stuff. The Monocoat now, you set it out in the sun, and it gets loose.
Mine too.
Yeah, mine does too.
It doesn't get real loose, but it does, especially around the corners where the wing ribs come in. There's usually some wrinkles right around there, and I've taken the iron and ironed those out a couple of times. And
sure, I was just wondering because this Buster, it's still tight as a drum.
Wow!
It's been sitting in a hot attic for 25 years.
We got a commenter over on YouTube named Dean Kerr. He says there's no lead in it now. Dean, are you talking about Monocoat?
Okay.
I never knew there was any lead in Monocoat.
I didn't know that either.
Tell us what you mean, Dean. You're new to us too. I don't remember seeing you before, is it? But we're talking about Monocoat. So tell us if that's what you're referring to about the lead. But anyway, as far as Monocoat goes, the biggest advantage that Ultracoat has over Monocoat to me is that the adhesion temperature is a long way from the shrink temperature. And with Monocoat, the adhesion temperature almost overlaps with the shrink temperature.
Sure.
So you gotta have a deft touch, a quick hand working with it. But once it's down, I like it better. And it also, and I don't use iron for hardly any time do I use iron unless I got some real bad wrinkles. But after I put it on, I shrink between the wing ribs and try not to glue it to the ribs any more than I have to, so that they can still move underneath it. I usually end up sticking it some anyway. And if it gets loosened up a little bit, it still has a lot of shrink left in it, where if the same thing happened with Ultra Coat, I wouldn't find that I could reshrink it as many times as I can reshrink Monocoat. Now, if you get heavy-handed when you first lay Monocoat on and just shrink the shit out of it, you might not have as many times to go back and reshrink it. But I find I can reshrink Monocoat indefinitely, where I can't do the same with Ultra Coat.
So you just shrink it at the minimum temperature it takes to shrink it.
No,
I use the speed of my hand with the iron to do it. I crank the motherfucker all the way up and just go fast and just paint it back and forth and barely touch it. And it can almost watch the color change as I go. And then I move to the next. Yeah. And then I do over, under, over, under, over, under as I'm doing it too. And Dean replied back, yes, he is referring to Monocoat used to have lead in it. So that's interesting. Maybe that had something to do with the shrinkage. I'm not sure.
Probably so.
Jim, when I was talking about the lighter temperatures, the only one I had two on my Zoe Life. You can see it right here. I'm screen sharing right now. It. And
let me click on that so the YouTubers get locked in.
I had some blacks and white and red, and I didn't want the lines to wave. So I was really conscious of the temperatures, because if I got too hot, then some of my lines would become wiggly. And like the lettering, the Zoe Life, I mean, that's actually a black, a white, and a red on top of white.
Yeah.
And so I had to be very careful with temperatures because I didn't want any waviness. And I have a better picture of it closer up, but that gives an idea. And then on the underside of it was a big black and white checkerboard Ultra Coat film.
Okay.
So that took a lot. That was a lot of work laying all that money. And along the fuselage, which you can't see, the top is white and the bottom is red. And again, I had a straight line, and I had a black stripe down on top of the white. And with all these lines, I just did not want any waves. So, but everywhere else, I was really hot-handed with the heavy and high temperatures. But just when they came together, I was just very careful.
That gives me another segue into why I really like Monocoat, is because ammonia or Windex activates Monocoat glue, so you can put it down for trim like that with no heat whatsoever. And
oh, you know, you're right. You're right. I actually laid down those with, I mean, the lettering and the graphics. That's all Ultra Coat, and I actually used Windex on that as well.
Really?
So, but when I
thought that the ammonia did not activate the Ultra Coat glue. But
well,
maybe I'm wrong.
That's what I used.
If it worked for you, then I guess I must have been mistaken.
Yeah, it still activated the adhesive, the Windex. Yeah, and
really?
I cut out. So yeah, all those were all hand cut out with X-Acto knives. All that lettering was cut out, and I lay the black down, then I lay the white and the red on top of it.
That's quite a job to do. Well, man, I've been telling people wrong for a long time that Ultra Coat would not activate with ammonia, because I truly didn't think it did.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
That looks labor intensive, Charles. That looks
sure.
That was it was you know, I really wanted that plane to be I know you don't want to talk too much about it, but I actually wanted this to glorify Zoe Life is the kind of life that God wants us to have through Jesus Christ. So Zoe Life is the more abundant life. is the more, because I want it to look like a winning plane. And then the underside is checkerboard. So it really looks, it's checkerboard underneath the wings and underneath the elevator and stab on the underside. And it still has the red border on that frames the checkerboard on the other side as well. It doesn't have the same lettering. It's just checkerboard. And I don't think I have any more pictures of. That's just a picture of it flying. But I have some pictures of when I was building it, but I can't find that. But I do. See, here is a. Is that the underside?
I don't know if I
you
have
see the underside
to do get that complicated.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. So this is the underside of the plane. Are you guys seeing that?
No, I'm still seeing the top.
Let me see here. Oh, here we go. How about now?
Still seeing the
Not
top.
yet.
You might want to close your share and reopen it. You're using main view. I don't know that one. And no, that was in-friend view. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so here's the underside.
There we go.
So, but I still had the red to frame the checkerboard, and yeah, that was a lot of work, Jim. No, I don't think I'll ever do that ever again.
I like that. Holly always complains I don't decorate the underside of my planes well enough. She wants to see the underneath of it when I'm doing wing overs and loops and stuff. So
you probably won't ever see a plane of mine.
That. Say what?
Complicated.
That's a good looking plane.
It is.
Thank you very much.
Well,
yeah, that's why I was
good, Charles.
Very disappointed when the stooge broke it. The wing is still in one piece, and I have to build a new fuselage. So it's very unfortunate that plane's not flying anymore. But I have pictures of it all over my wife, as a matter of fact, just bought me. She went and got me a new picture for me to frame. Just so I don't forget. My wife got this for me recently.
Oh, there you go.
So it's a really big picture of it. Yeah. So, and on my computer when it goes to sleep, I have a lot of images of this plane flying. I got a lot of nice shots of it flying. So we'll see. If I was to do that, I would really want to paint that again. I wouldn't want to. But I really am convinced that it took 3 times the work to do that than if I would have painted it.
So how did that airplane do in the sun, Charles?
How did it do in the sun?
Did it?
Pretty well. I mean, I had a little wrinkling, and I would just touch up with the iron. In some places, I could safely use the heat gun. My biggest complaint was just along the fuselage where you have the white on top and the red overlapping for handling the plane. Especially in the front when you pick it up. And I even started telling my friends or people I fly with, to handle it a little differently than when they were doing it. I said, would you mind just picking it up from the wing as opposed to handling the front of the fuselage? Their thumbs was, grabbing hold of the red and which was messing up that seam between the white, where if it was painted, it probably wouldn't have mattered at all. And that's also probably because of the fuel too. The fuel could get into the seam, just work its way into the seam and then loosen the seam.
I've heard, and my son has told me. My son's a modeler as well.
Oh, cool.
He's told me that on the seams, if you use a Q-tip and a little bit of acetone, it will seal those seams and not let fuel get under the seams. Now, I've never tried that, but I don't know. So
now I actually brushed on with like a fingernail brush, trim. What do you call it? Trim solvent. You know, the top light trim solvent, and I've actually used that. And so I guess if I hadn't done all that, I would have had even more issues to complain about.
Sure.
I just, I don't know, I'm looking forward to painting because I just want to see if it's a different lifestyle than having to worry about themes and lifting and all that kind of stuff. And I was just very careful, even cleaning the plane, because I had all this. Because, like I mentioned, the lettering, the graphics. There's 3 layers of graphics there.
Yeah.
So I was just very careful. I would spray the glass cleaner onto a paper cloth, and then I would wipe the plane down. I wouldn't just blanket the plane with all kinds of glass cleaner. And I read an article from Bill Granderson, and he talked about a product called Sprayway glass cleaner. It has no ammonia in it.
Yes.
Index has ammonia. So that's not necessarily the best thing you want to use to clean your monocoat finish.
Right.
When you want to get the fuel off.
We've used Sprayway for years and years on our RC models. On our
so that's what I used. And then Wally turned me on to this other product, which I have to dilute it, but it's a cleaner from the dollar store, I think it is, and that works pretty good too. Very caustic though. I mean, when I first time I spray, I was coughing. It's an orange cleaner. But yeah, that's just all the stuff that I'm looking forward to trying paint and get away from having to worry about all these issues.
That's the only reason I thought about doing silk span and nitrate dope and silk span, and then spraying it and put the 2K clear over it, because I just don't like the sagging of the iron-on films.
Right.
I don't have enough trouble with it to bother me. Usually when I take it back into the shop after a day in the sun, it tightens mostly back up. Once in a while, I'll take the iron and just dab along the rib joints.
Yeah.
But I think that's monocoat, and that's all I can speak to. I've only ever used one roll of Ultra Coat, and that was years ago, back when I was flying half A.
Yeah. Well, based upon y'all's recommendations, I'll probably just get monocoat. Although my son bought some from Hobby King, and you get a roll that's I think it's 36 inches wide by 16 feet.
Oh yeah, that's one of the big expensive rolls. Yeah, I usually get the 6 rolls.
It's only $10. The Hobby King iron-on film is like $10.50, and it's 36 inches wide by 16 feet long. And he just covered an airplane with it, and said he was pretty impressed with it.
Well, keep an eye on it for a while and see how it goes. And
yeah, we'll see how it works as he uses the airplane.
Yeah,
it's a senior Telemaster. It's a 12-foot Telemaster RC model.
Yeah,
and he covered it for a fraction of what it would have cost him to cover it in Monaco.
Yeah, I'm no kidding.
But we'll see how it does, and I'll let you guys know how it does.
Yeah.
But
all right, I'm back. I had to take a phone call.
I checked to make sure Terry didn't send me an email or anything, and I got no communication from him, so his phone must have kicked out or something.
Maybe, yeah. I remember one time Terry and I were talking, and we was on the other place, and we both decided to shut down to reboot because he was having problems. And then when I shut down, my computer decided to do the updates.
Yeah, that happened to me 15 minutes before it was time to go on tonight. And I was like, oh,
can't do nothing until that update and installation is done. And you have to restart your computer sometimes several times to do the complete installation.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this has been informative for me. I appreciate you guys.
Oh, good, man. I'm glad to hear it. I know Rusty is too.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. I hope people are watching that, you know, learn something from us.
Absolutely.
I try to make sure that I either know what I'm talking about or I qualify it with just that this is only my experience or this is what I've heard for other things. So try not to spout off anything as fact that I'm not sure of.
Sure.
Yeah. I learned on the show too. I mean, even tonight when Terry was talking about the wax paper, you know, I wasn't sure. Maybe you guys can clarify since he's not here. He was talking about a less expensive wax paper he recommended.
Yeah.
Yeah, some without as much wax on it, so it wouldn't leave a waxy film or a residue when you're using it to card the epoxy off of the carbon veil. You know, because carbon veil, if you've ever worked with it, if you're heavy-handed with a brush or whatever, you can mess the filaments all up in it and
right
and leave weak gaps everywhere. But he said if you take wax paper and put off it and card the glue off, but use that super cheap shit that doesn't have much wax on it, then it won't leave as much waxy residue. That's when I asked him if you could use parchment paper, and he said, I guess you could, but I think it would have more of a problem sticking and possibly pulling your carbon fiber back up off of the surface.
Yeah. So, yeah, I found that interesting too. I think parchment paper is slick, more slick than wax paper. Has been my little experience. But I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
Did he say a name for that cheaper wax paper?
No, he didn't know. He just knew he got it at a dollar store.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of. I take notes. I have a notepad when I'm on the show, Jim. I hear
you know what? I think rather than card the glue off, I might just wait till it hardens and sandpaper it. I don't know if I'd do wax paper over it or not, because I don't want my primer going on with wax chips underneath between it and the carbon veil.
Yeah.
So, now, if Terry was here, he could, you know, deny that that was a problem, but I don't know. That's just what I'm guessing.
And I've never used carbon veil before.
I've only used it a couple of times, but it worked well for me. I put it on my flaps on my last twister wing.
Oh, okay.
Goes on easy. It's easy to apply. Just don't be too heavy-handed with your paintbrush putting it on, because you can screw up the fibers, you know, and rip them apart.
Sure.
And
I can see where that would be easy to do. Looking at this piece that I have,
yeah,
it would be easy to tear it apart.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. I've used it a little bit on the fairings on that Nobler. Matter of fact, I think I put a little bit of carbon fiber on that too. But on my next build, I'm probably going to use some carbon fiber weave. I have a nice roll of it. So
a 3/4 ounce fiberglass put on the same way would be a lot stronger. It'd also be a lot heavier, somewhat heavier at least.
Sure. Yeah, that carbon veil doesn't weigh anything.
Nah, not much at all.
It's the resin you put it on with.
Yeah, I think
that brings the weight up.
I think I've got enough to do my Cardinal. You know what else is good to have on hand for repairs is carbon tow. It's like string. Yeah, you can rip off a few fibers if you just want a little bit, or you can use a whole string if you want to twist it up and pack it in to bridge a spar repair, and it turns into like a carbon rod inside of that spar to put a spar back together.
Sure.
if you have a break of wing, that's a great way to reattach the spars to each other and have them just as strong as new. And use CA, thin CA, and layer it in, twist and pack and layer and glue and twist and pack and layer and glue and twist and just until it's filled up. You know, just take a Dremel tool and cut a slot for an inch or two on each side of the brake, and you know, stick the spar back together, and then do it that way. And Bob Zambelli showed me how to do that, and it worked great.
Yeah, that's a great idea, actually. Yeah.
And it's cheap too. I got 10 feet of it for like $3 and free shipping off of eBay.
Oh,
Right.
That's cool. I'll tell you what, I've learned a lot from Stunthangar and the forums too.
Yeah, you do have to kind of cherry pick, because guys get to the same place with different methods. So
Sure.
you kind of have to follow through for consistency that way. But yeah, those are some smart guys on there that have built a lot of planes.
Oh yeah, and it seems like they're the folks on the forums seem to
I'm
be.
back.
All right.
I've been struggling to get back. Listen, you don't want to put that carbon veil. What I was going to get to, you really don't want it as the outer skin. So get some 30-second balsa and laminate it underneath it, and use that. You can run the grain the same direction, but if you use that herringbone method I use, you get more benefits from change of direction of grain and so on.
I got you.
How about if you put the veil on and then cover it with silk span?
You could do that too, but I think you'd get more benefits out of the balsa. And you know, you're going to sand most of that balsa away, because when you start to see it get dark, like on the edges where you're rounding it, you stop.
Yeah.
Because you're going to sand most of it away. But you really don't want to just have pure carbon laminating something. And when I use the cheap wax paper, I use the waxy side away from the epoxy, because enough is leached through the paper to really prevent it from sticking to the epoxy.
You think one side's
especially Z-epoxy. See, epoxies give off what is called an aniline blush. Do you know what that is?
No.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
Nope.
Well, Z-epoxy is one of the most forgiving, like very little, but a lot of epoxies, especially West systems or Hexcel or whatever, after they cure, there is like a waxy, oily stickiness that comes to the surface.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Aniline that is perspired from the curing matrix of epoxy, and some of it is from the wetting agents that are on your carbon fibers. You know, these carbon fibers, before they weave those fabrics are treated with different polymers that wick epoxy and attract each other, and it's just amazing. So the whole strand is wetted out very quickly with no air. See, air is the enemy. The only way you put air in something, and you really don't use air, you use microballoons, and those are full of nitrogen.
Okay.
So
do you get the
anyway,
cheapest
I didn't know
wax
any of
paper?
that.
Rusty, those links I sent you to Fiber Class, they have great videos there. You can go to their website and go to vacuum bagging, and they have just hours of just very instructional videos. And you know what? They have all their tools laid out right there. They don't have to run around for 10 minutes looking for a friggin' tool. I can't watch those. The Sheldon Cooper in me goes crazy.
I don't know who you might be referring to.
That's my joke.
Yeah, that's a funny joke.
I don't know who you might be referring to.
Thanks for warning, Sheldon.
Sheldon Cooper.
That's funny.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I've still got
God
that
bless
email.
everybody.
I did
Hey,
go to
listen,
that front page, but y'all will have
I
to
have
forgive
learned
me
a
for
ton
not.
of stuff from the Stunthangar videos. That's all I'm going to say, and I enjoy them. So,
Me too.
All right.
Yeah. Hey Terry, I have looked at that. I only went to their front page though, but you'll have to forgive me for not spending a lot of time on the computer lately. I've just been a chair bound and.
no, I hear you, man. Well, I'll keep you entertained. I'll send you a video or two every week. I'll send you a couple videos a week and
yeah,
some interesting ads to look at. I mean, you know.
Yeah, send me those videos on the glassing you're talking about. I wouldn't mind seeing them myself, Terry.
Oh, the fiberglass. Yeah, I think I got one today. Yeah. Well, once you get one of the ads, you can just go to that section of the website and there'll be videos at the bottom. And a lot of times if you click on, you're pretty familiar with basic vacuum bagging, right?
Now, remember last time we talked about this? I didn't know anything about it.
Oh, yeah. Well, then watch the basic one. But the once you see the resin transfer molding, it's just, I don't know. It's more precise. It's easier. There maybe is a little bit more equipment involved, but the plastic feeder tubes, you're able to reuse them because if you break the bag apart, once the epoxy has gone off and it's past what is called a green stage, you know, you can let it go till it's crisp if you want, but you can take it apart at a certain stage where, say if you have to trim any edges or anything, it's still at a plasticine state.
Right.
But your matrix, and you're not going to get any warps. I mean, you don't want to be flinging it around, but you can certainly trim your trailing and leading edge pieces if you should need to. And with a lot of these, the way we're molding them with these 2 Mylar outer skins as part of the shell, you can get them aligned pretty good, but there's always a little weep line of clear resin along the leading and the trailing edge. Well, the trailing edge, it comes out like a razor blade, and you don't want that, so we sand that in. But the trailing edge, you get a tiny little ripple, or where the 2 pieces of Mylar either butt or they overlap slightly. But easy peasy.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, even though you've done it 100 times, when you're doing a wet layup, even though you have all your cloth and all your stuff cut out, and you're doing the layup, and you're mixing, you have your assistant or your buddies mixing the epoxy for you. You know, if you can do it one man, but if you've got 2, it's a lot easier, especially on a long glider wing. And but you're working under a bit of a time gun.
Right. Oh yeah.
And with this other method, I'm able to use. I picked up some of this. What is it called? Chart adhesive. I was at the art supply store, Poston's, and I was looking for something not quite as tacky as 3M77.
Right.
And they make this stuff for whatever, you know. So I use that to just keep the fiber, like I spray it on the fiber before I even put the scissors to it. And I have a couple real nice shears, but I started cutting all my cloth with those pizza style cutters you get from Micro Mart.
Right.
And once you start doing that, you won't use the shears except for minor trimming.
Really? Wow.
I don't know. It works for me.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I believe you.
And we're down here where there's a lot of boat repair, and I see them using them in the boat repair industry. And I said, and they're a little larger. They're more of a commercial size, so I'm looking into scoring some of those.
Very
All
good.
kinds of, yeah, it's, you know, but you got to be careful with composites. I've had a couple cysts that had to be surgically removed in my forearms from working around this stuff and getting a little stick. And if it gets under your skin and it's carbon fiber, it's going to cause you a problem. That's all I can say. And you don't want to breathe it. So
yeah, I've always
it's good to
been
put
very
that,
about that.
you know, even take 16th inch or whatever you got, balsa, laminate it over it. You don't have to vacuum bag it. You can weight it down with books.
Right.
And the excess epoxy will squeeze out. Don't worry about getting too much because you can sand that away, man. It's going to sandwich it, and you're going to get a real nice stiff, straight fuselage. And then sand some curves into it. Give it more of an elliptical shape instead of a slab of wood.
Right.
And sand down till you start to see the carbon and then stop. Your thickest part should be at the middle of the fuselage looking at it height-wise.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, you want that egg, that fuselage. I do that to all of mine. Here, look at this one. This is the little Tony. See, and I laminated it. Actually, I let one of the scouts do these. Well, look, God bless them. They all got a shot to do it. Now you see there's some have some spaces.
Right.
Okay, some have some spaces, some don't. And you know what? It makes no difference.
Right.
Because with monocoat over it, you're not going to see that little space. And all it did is lighten it and increase the surface area. So how is that a bad thing?
Right. So
I got all my scouts where they were afraid to touch their spirit kits. They got these new kits and they were afraid to touch them to make a mistake. So I let them go to work on this thing. Come here, cut some wood. Cut the wood, sand it, fit it, glue it, you know. And you can explain to people how to use medium CA, but you really need to let them glue themselves to something and then they learn.
Yeah. Yeah, they will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've done that many times.
Well, it's not over because I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So after you have the, is there glass underneath that lamination on that little Tony you have, or is it just all wood?
No, it's all wood.
All right.
Wooden CA so far. I'm going to sand it.
I'm curious.
And this won't get anything but cover right and monocoat. Now, the little Tony, the elevator is real thin. So I picked up some 30-second balsa and I'm herringboning the tail top and bottom to get it where it's a thickness where it isn't going to be warping. Because if you've ever built one, you know how thin the tail is.
Good idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah. It's not my first rodeo. Gray hair.
Yes. Yeah.
I love these little planes though, and they really, with a little airplane with no flaps, these planes can turn on a dime, man.
Yeah,
They're nice little planes.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to get my big plane to turn. That's why I'm trimming down the flap.
Yeah.
Hoping that I hope to see something tomorrow morning. I hope I can see it.
Well, today I built a second set of flaps for the Oriental, and I built 2 new wingtips, and it has a real sort of a Spitfire look, but there's no sweep on the leading edge like the beautiful Spitfire wing. It's not an elliptical wing, but it gives you that military British look to it. And of course, the Oriental has that beautiful sculpted empennage, which I've lengthened it.
What attracted me to the Oriental first too is that tail was
it's really beautiful and it's really effective because that tail sticks out there a ways, but because it's rounded with that elliptical tail, it's very forgiving. like one of the most effective tails, of course, you know, is like on the Twister. It's just a big elevator that is getting a lot of clean air, and when it's activated, that plane moves.
Yeah.
And you're throwing that thick wing around, man, and it loves it. It loves it. So, and I'm also going to take the Oriental wing, and I'm cap stripping it because it's got that 61 in it. So I'm actually increasing the wing size by 3%. It almost is identical to the Cardinal now.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. Didn't I show you the comparison the other day, Charles, on the Cardinal and the Oriental, or was that someone else?
No, you showed me the fuselages, but you didn't show me the wings.
Yeah, where the wing, you could see the wing saddles and the shape were identical, except the Oriental was a more narrow airfoil.
I did see that. You're right. Yeah, very, very cool.
But I'm doing I could have it here, but it's in the house. I have I built up new flaps, but they're built up. And I built them out of stick, and then I sheeted them with 16th after the sticks were tapered down to an aeronautical shape.
So how thick is the overall thickness of the flap? How thick does it get?
Well, at the trailing edge, it's the same thickness as the trailing edge. And I got the trailing edge by laminating strips of balsa together. And the hinge pockets are part of the lamination, so they didn't have to be ground in. They're just a missing part of the center lamination.
All right.
I'll show it to you. And it builds in the aeronautical, the perfect V shape and everything. You just knock the corners off. And it's so light and strong, it's incredible.
Wow.
And then you use stick down to 2 layers of sheet, or 3 if you want to get real insane. Then you sand that down in a real easy jig by propping the edge up and sanding with another block. And real easy, you sand down to the blocks meet, real easy. Flip it over, do the same thing. Then I sheet it with 16-inch and do my final sanding and shaping. It's real lightweight, but you've got a really nice flap. And I did one I've got 2 sets of flaps for the Twister. I built the new set, and they looked a little big, and I thought, oh, man. So I had the wood outs, and then I built a set like the original stock ones.
Mm-hmm.
But I also did the kind of Windy Arnowski 1 inch by 2 inch.
Yeah.
And they've worked for me.
Yeah.
That flap ratio has worked for me. I've even used it on RC airplanes, no matter what the wingspan. And guys will say, how'd you come up with that? I go, you ever seen, do you know who Windy Arnowski is? They go, who?
Yeah.
Oh, he flies control. As soon as you say control line, they walk away.
Yeah.
What could we learn from those idiots?
I know.
Yeah, right. How about building skills? Like,
I know the
crazy building skills.
Free flight and control line guys are probably the best.
And to know what is actually happening when that servo pushes on that control horn, because you can feel it.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
That's true. Absolutely. I was just telling some people recently. Actually, I had some guests roll up on me last Friday. I was flying, and this lady and her 2 kids, they were just so excited. They never seen it before. So I showed them how that works. I actually let them hold my plane, and they were amazed at how light it was. I said, "This is a heavy plane, and it's considered heavy." And I said, "It's made out of balsa wood, and there is some plywood in it." And they were just enamored with it. And so we exchanged information, and she wants me to try to get a club at the school, the same school.
Oh, that'd be excellent.
My kids go to. I found out that her kids go to the same school, so maybe next year I'll try to get a club going.
See, what you do is you let Brodax know and have them throw you a couple of their Ringmaster kits. You know, those go together so nicely. And then you can see, then you have the added benefit of that Lord of the Ring group. And if you ever want to go to a fun contest, go to one of those. I mean, those are really fun.
I've never been to one. I don't know if there is one anywhere close to where I live.
Well, there should be more, you know. I don't know. Anyway.
I know we had the ring-a-thons. We will participate in it.
Yeah, that's cool.
The whole world's involved in it, right?
Yeah.
And, so I know they will have a ring-a-thon where they'll just have people flying a ringmaster, and you get more points if it's in person's first flight.
Yep.
Guys, I got to get up early in the morning, so I'm gonna bug out.
All right, man.
All right, Jim.
Good.
It's our closing time anyway, Jim. So you made it to the end. You can consider yourself an official diehard.
Okay.
I'm going to say good night to everybody now.
I appreciate being able to get on here and talk to you guys.
Yeah, same here, Jim. It's a pleasure talking to you.
You joined us.
Yeah.
And Charles, Terry.
Pleasure.
Me, I'm the only other one. Just you three.
Okay, guys. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Y'all have a good week, and we'll see you Friday evening. Same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, fair winds, tight lines. See ya.
See ya. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Kaboom.